What's going on, everyone? Good morning. Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 320, our final show of 2024. I am here with the lawman himself. Mr. Hoaglaw is back in his Christmas outfit, ready to celebrate. How we doing?
I am good. Obviously, I am not dressed up for the season, but I appreciate the shout out all the same.
There you go. There you go. And joining us this week, fresh guest, the Mad Hatter himself, Mr. Top Hat Travis. How we doing, my friend?
Well, howdy do? No, just talk like that the whole show.
He does look fresh.
What's up, guys? It's me. It's your boy Travis, dressed like normal. What's up, dudes? Just spiraling into madness. Each week I get more fancy, less relatable to the audience. And today I've reached the
What could go wrong?
1800s. That's right, podcast listeners who can't see him. He's even more of a fancy boy than usual.
It's true. Got a top hat and a cane. That's how we do. No, I got dragged to this Dickens fair today. So I'm going to that.
Dickens Fair.
Yeah, Charles.
Not related to the author, but
No. Yeah, that's God damn it. gotta go Dickens Fair. I'm going right after this, and then I thought, it'd be pretty funny if I went all out with my outfit and then wore it on a show with no context. Wouldn't that be cool?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Although
you just gave the context.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I know. But
yeah.
You
I
couldn't
didn't give you guys the
2
context
minutes.
pre-show. You just thought we were talking for 10 minutes, and you just thought I was going insane. That was pretty fun. It's more
We
of a
just
prank on
accept
you.
as you are, Travis.
Yeah. It's more of a prank on you. Anyway, happy to be here, boyos.
Yeah. Last episode of the year. So we had debated doing a show next week, but turns out we've got some things going on. Hogue has some things going on. I'll probably have some things going on. Travis didn't have anything going on, but
No,
we decided not
I'm
to.
clear, free and clear.
We didn't want to do that to the audience.
Solo show, just me.
So this will be our last show of the year. And in that vein, because we're going to take a couple weeks, I know Travis and I in particular, I don't know about you, Hogue, but trying to catch up on some games that we want to talk about in terms of like game of the year and some of the releases. We will talk about kind of reflecting on 2024 in our next show a couple weeks from now.
Are we doing our cooking show? Is that the video next week? We can have a cooking show?
We could do that next week. Yeah, that'll work. We got to figure out what game we're cooking from. We do have a suggestion from Don, by the way, since it's been 10 years since release, to do the Dragon Age cookbook.
Okay.
Just a thought, but I'm down for whatever.
Cookbook, but yeah, I'm down.
Me too.
I want to see you guys cook some of the foods that are in Outlaws.
Star Wars Outlaws? Do they have a cookbook for? I'm sure they have a Star Wars.
That would be
cookbook,
so
right?
cool, but unfortunately, all the ingredients are made up, so they're gonna have to get real creative with the recipes.
All the ingredients are made up, and they do weird things because they have this whole sequence in that game where you're feeding Nyx, your little animal companion Ains, and they have
sequences.
They have like things that you burst open, and they have like little fireworks, and you catch them out of the air and things like that. That wouldn't be easy to replicate, but would be a cool cookbook. If Ubisoft were still in business by the time you needed to cook something.
Not by next week. We will. We'll see. We'll talk about it this week. We'll figure out what cookbook we're doing, and we'll get that done. But a couple things to shout out before we get started. So I want to shout out our audio listeners again this week. Another big week and a half, 10 days, whatever it may be, past 2 weeks for our audio listeners. So thank you all for showing up. I don't know why that continues to do extremely well for us in the sense, meaning not listening to us, but I don't know why it's suddenly boosted over the past few months compared to previous. So I don't know, but really appreciate you guys listening. I hope the experience has been good. We've done our best to kind of clean it up a bit for audio listeners as well. So thank you for that. Obviously, it goes without saying, if you listen on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen, hitting us with a review really helps as well. So would appreciate that. I also want to thank the audience here, people like Googleman and Don and so many other people I'm going to forget to mention, Willow and everyone, Debbie, who's so generous with donations. So last week we raised a little over $100 for Extra Life as well. Last week I donated all that money to Extra Life, so thank you for that. And then this week, of course, we come into the holiday with a couple opening super chats, but we also have Tide's picks. So let's. She went holiday themed this year, and I look horrifying as usual. But here we go.
I look adorable.
Yeah, Richard Hogue always looking good.
Hogue looks adorable. Travis, you look adorable too. You got those big eyes. You have normal brown hair, by the way.
Oh yeah. Hey, look, appreciate the small things. That's pretty good. Yeah.
You still have a tie? Yeah, you're doing well.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they should have made me a little like this is a clearly Christian coded, so I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but I'll accept it.
Travis, can you please explain to me what is specifically Christian about Christmas elves?
Yeah, that's isn't that your guys's Christian holiday?
You think Christianity believes in Christmas elves?
I don't know anything what you guys believe about. All I know is you guys put prizes in your socks. I've seen that. It's weird. I don't know what to do. I'm over here just lighting candles, so I don't know. I feel like they just didn't take that into account.
Keep it simple. Candle each day,
Candle each night, actually.
Honestly, Travis, I think a tiny little doll version of that elf would sell out. I think you look like a sellable Christmas elf.
Wow, dude.
Yep. Both of you do, honestly.
That's huge coming from you. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is Ains.
Yeah.
Ains, I'm not 100% sure your character has a bottom half of your torso. I think
I agree.
Might just be a stump like Max Rebo from Star Wars.
I think he looks like the personification of the Balatro Joker. That's just a head with like the collar.
Yeah. Very,
like
very creepy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
You way too big. It's
my
shiny.
interpretation is maybe you're like a baby crawling on the ground and your legs are behind you.
Sure.
They kind of made you a baby.
What's up with my nose? What happened?
I mean, what's up?
I think I have the same nose.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks better on your
It looks like they slapped a nose on you for Mr. Potato Head. Different color. Doesn't look quite on. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. But anyway, Tide, as always, thank you for the laughs and for doing this every week for us in 2024. So super appreciative of you, Tide.
I just want to say that I know a little something about Christmas decor and sales. Michigan is the home to the country's biggest Christmas store year round. So I see these things all the time.
Wait. There's a year-round Christmas store?
There is.
That's insane, bro.
Not only is there a year-round Christmas store, but they put up billboards and advertisements like all the way down to Florida because the highway goes all the way up to it.
The goys are out of control. Somebody needs to fix this. And there's only one man for the job. Do.
I don't view elves and Santa and Christmas trees as specifically Christian coded, but I do understand that that's in the name Christmas.
Yeah, so, Christ, it's kind of part of it.
Yeah, but like there's a reason that you have all this stuff like that says there's a reason for the season that tries to bring people back outside of the commercialized Christmas aspect because it doesn't really read as specifically churchy or Christian or otherwise.
Okay. Outside looking in, looks pretty Christian to me.
Well, to Hoag's point, I mean, I'm not religious, and yet I celebrate Christmas just because I grew up celebrating Christmas because I enjoy the season and the ideas behind it. So
okay, I'm not putting a tree in my house. It seems crazy. It seems wild to me.
You don't have to do whatever you don't want to do, Travis.
Okay,
keep those candles.
Appreciate that, bro. It's on the same. It's on the same day this year. First night of Hanukkah is on Christmas Day, which is rare. Usually it happens.
Is it really? I thought it was earlier in December usually.
It's based on a different calendar, so it kind of moves around.
Yeah.
And this year, it just happens to be on Christmas Day night, which doesn't happen very often. So there you go.
That's pretty cool. And it's why do I forget how many days it is?
It is 7 days and 8 nights.
7 days and
that's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So take you right to New Year.
There you go. Yeah.
Cool.
Pretty good.
Very good.
Pretty cool.
Good. All right, let's kick off with entry level super chats. Entry level. I've been working too much, guys. Super chats here.
Did they hit their KPIs, Haynes?
Yeah, sorry.
81, 10 euros. Been playing Replicant Chat, the gamified avatarized chat GPT with one historian guy, Bill Clinton, doppelganger pretending to be British, fun-ish. I understood almost none of that. That was crazy.
You know what's funny is I can't figure out whether Googleman is just making this up or not. So good for you if you did.
I don't think he's making this up. I think he takes real stuff and he describes it in the most like confusing way possible, just to kind of get us. Let's see. Been playing.
I've never heard of Replicant Chat, but it sounds like
gamified avatarized. So somebody built a chat GPT, like they trained a chat GPT to be a Bill Clinton
Replicant Chat is a game on Steam.
There you go.
Wow. So I wonder, does it have an OpenAI plugin? Well, now I need to look at this.
Well, it wouldn't have to be
gamified
OpenAI.
AI chatbot with numerous user experiences, including quizzes. There you go.
Well, he said ChatGPT.
I
so it'd be
suspect,
OpenAI,
like most people, Googleman is using ChatGPT to mean LLM AI because that's how most people think about it, like Xeroxes and copies.
Yeah, that's what ChatGPT has kind of become known as. Yep.
But a lot of people actually use. I mean, you can put that on.
You could actually make Xeroxes, but you could also make copies without a Xerox machine. So I just think ChatGPT means LLM AI to most people.
Yep.
You know something we don't let sound off, dude. If it is a ChatGPT, if it's OpenAI,
he says it utilizes ChatGPT and Gemini, which is Google.
There we go.
So yeah,
it's good to have multiple sources, especially if you're doing something like enrichment.
I wonder. Now I'm curious about how they built it. If it's going to evolve over time as it learns more about its users, you know what I mean? So,
oh boy,
yeah, Google. Well, no, thank you.
ChatGPT doesn't learn from users, thankfully. Remember they used to do that, the old AI chatbots where you would start talking to them and the world would start talking to them, and 2 weeks later it would be unusable because people broke it because people are terrible. Yeah. It doesn't do that anymore.
Well, it can do that. Absolutely, it can.
It learns from its experiences, but doesn't get information from the things that you say to it. It doesn't
it really depends on how much you believe the architects behind these.
Yeah, it depends how it's coded. You can. Yeah.
You could do that. They tried it.
I know it went down real fast. Yeah.
Well, Gemini has a short-term memory. I mean, there are ways to try to do these things, and honestly, Gemini probably has guardrails that are a little bit stronger than I would like in some respects, but I like their app, so I tend to use that one the most.
You use Gemini, huh? Interesting. I'm a ChatGPT guy myself. Ains, where do you stand, buddy?
I don't really have a dog in the fight.
Old. He's old.
Yeah, but I will tell you, I'm literally working with Gemini right now in my career work. So there you go.
Nice, dude.
Gemini has some blind spots, but I like their app.
Yeah,
nice. I trained a ChatGPT model last week. Pretty cool.
Yeah, they're neat stuff.
It's fun stuff.
Scary and neat at the same time, as always, with tech.
Not scary. Freaking cool, dude.
2 minutes ago, it went downhill real fast. It took information and went off hill.
Imagine being in school right now. If you were in school, Ains, and there was a robot where you could be write me a 6-paragraph essay about this topic, and there's basically no way for a teacher to check against it because it's uniquely generated, dude.
Dude, we had that too. It's called Cliff's Notes. Come on.
But dude, they could do that thing where they Google it or they run it through that software that looks for your essay online and that whole thing. You can't do that with ChatGPT. That's
the funny part is, and it might work also with Bitcast, is that ChatGPT and some of the other AIs that can have access to the internet can almost entirely replicate my voice, my way of making sentences, because I have so much content online. So anybody that can access that can do that, and it's really
impressive and creepy.
Yeah, no, absolutely creepy. Yeah, but impressive.
Yeah.
Why creepy?
Good.
Because you can ask an AI to not only replicate the way I speak, but then my speech patterns. It can actually pull all the syllables I've ever said, and it sounds like I'm saying them. That's a little creepy.
Don't tell him, Hogue. I'm building a new YouTube channel of Ty Guy Travis reviews right now.
That'd be pretty cool.
We could honestly. I don't think
somebody trained ChatGPT to read all of my reviews and then write a Travis review. That would be pretty funny.
I don't think the AI can replicate the level of terrible punnage that Travis brings to the
table. Do we have the technology yet, or am I still unique? Is it
Sometimes I read Travis reviews and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
In a good way.
What's funny is when I do that, I think about the people in my life who are going to be harmed by it, and you're on the list, Hogue. I think about you, and I'm like, yeah, I just want to ruin his day. Really, is my goal.
It doesn't ruin my day, but it does give me that little bit of a gut swell where it's like, oh man, why am I reading this?
Yeah, good.
Mission accomplished.
I love it.
Googleman, as always, you took us right off course there. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Don, the lion-hearted among us, offers $10 and writes, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, And happy Hanukkah, Travis. Not sure
Only
if
for
this-
you, Travis.
that's
Nobody
it.
else
I'm
gets
the
happy
only
Hanukkah.
one that gets a happy Hanukkah. As you guys know, I'm the last one. You haven't got me yet. They're looking though. Not sure if this is the last show of the year, but thank you guys for a year of entertainment and laughs. Metaphor is good. Like a Dragon, Gaiden next.
Yes, the man who erased his name. Good choice,
The man
Don.
who erased
Nice.
his.
It's actually got some Christmas theming in it, so enjoy that.
There you
That's
go.
cool.
All right. Don, thank you as always, my friend. Christy Fletcher with a member comment.
Christy Fletcher has been a member for 2 years and a month. Wishing everyone a wonderful holiday season. Purple Heart, generic gaming controller.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christy. Tao.
Tauzochi, $5. Scrooge Mick Travis. Is this a new Bitcast thing? Travis will dress up. Yes. I'm committed to doing this every year or every week. Every week I'm going to get more fancy. Next week I'm thinking maybe I'll add a monocle instead of the glasses. And then after that, who knows?
Surely there's a fanciness singularity. Like you've hit the end of fanciness at some point.
Yeah, no, I think at some point it becomes unrecognizable that it is fancy. It kind of like, it's like a snake swallowing its own tail. It's very cool. Very cool. Ouroboros.
Something to look forward to, viewers.
Ouroboros of fashion. Where I'm just like, very good, dude. It's going to be sweet.
Oh, my God. Travis. Tao, thank you very much, my friend. And Bizzle.
Lunch Bizzle, $10 super chat. Happy holidays, everyone. Always a good day when I get to catch the show live. Going to play some Metaphor and hope for a Lions win to celebrate my birthday today.
That sounds like a great day.
Heard you guys got beat by the Bills.
What'd you say, Travis?
So I heard you guys got beat by the Bills.
We did get beat by the Bills. We also lost our star running back. It's the Lions season this year. Bills are a very good team.
Yeah, I have somebody in my life who's a Bills fan. She wears a Bills sweatshirt often, and I think that she's just very stressed out about she's behind on like the things she has to pay for. She's like worried about because it just says Bills, no context. So I'm like, she's just worried. She's got a lot of bills in the mail. She hasn't paid them yet.
That seemed like a long way for that setup.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, she was very happy, and I thought, well, this is interesting because you're happy that they won. I've got some friends that are upset that they won. So who do I root for? Which justice is the most just?
The Lions. The Lions have been the absolute dregs of the NFL for as long as I've been alive until this year, where they were hit by 20 plus injuries. So
to me.
Root for the Lions.
You're not talking about the Jets.
I am not talking about the Jets. The Jets won the first 2 Super Bowls, right?
When you're a Jet, you're a Jet all the way. That's all I know about the Jets.
The Jets didn't win the first 2 Super Bowls. Didn't the Packers win the first Super Bowl?
I think maybe I'm thinking of a different Jets organization.
Different Jets?
Am I wrong on this? I need some help, chat.
I don't feel like Googling it, but the Jets did not win the first 2 Super Bowls. I know that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll say 99% sure just to cover myself, but yeah, I'm pretty sure about that one. Anyway, Bizzle, thank you as always. Bizzle and Tao, 2 of our SG OGs hanging out with us today. So thank you, my friend. We're actually going to touch on Gears E-Day in a little bit. So, and Shoosh gifting a Hogue Law membership on the channel. Shoosh,
thank you, Shoosh.
Yeah.
Shoosh.
And Shoosh, shout out to Shoosh too, who, like I said before, did our graphics for us in the sense of these overlays. So thank you so much. Shoosh.
Nice.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and get into what we've been playing and get caught up on in that regard? So I'm going to hand you guys right out of the gate here before I touch on anything, but hit me with something. Oh, I'll tell you what, Travis, because you couldn't talk about it last week, your review of Alien VR went up, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rogue Incursion, a super easy name to remember.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I reviewed. Thank you for reminding me. I was not even going to talk about that the week because it feels like it was a long time ago. Yeah, so I played Alien Rogue Incursion. You can see my review up on IGN.com or YouTube. It is a virtual reality game. It's actually the first Alien game in VR, which is kind of surprising. And it's quite good. I gave it a 7 out of 10, which is kind of speaks
So
to the
you
fact
hate
that,
it clearly.
yeah, I hate it. Obviously, you should
Okay.
never play it.
I'm sure the comments say that. Yes.
More or less, yeah. I mean, IGN. I think people are still upset about the last, the what is it, Alien in
D starts with a D.
yeah,
Dark Descent?
no,
No.
the other one, the
Isolation.
Isolation. Thank you. I knew it
That
started with an I.
McCaffrey did.
Yeah. People are still upset about one person's opinion on that game. But yeah, so there were people saying, you give it a 7, it's because you hate it. But then there's also people who say you give it a 7, that's too good for VR. A lot of people really don't like VR. It's kind of odd. A lot of
Okay, but in
commenters
fairness,
specifically.
right? Like the Alien Isolation review by IGN was like a 5, right? Like that was an
I
insane.
think back then it
review for
was
that game.
it's not a insane review. I would probably give it a 6. I think Ryan McCaffrey gave it a 5.9, which I would probably give it a 6.
I mean, you're just wrong. It's okay.
Yeah. It's not how opinions work, but I appreciate you trying.
We'll just say that's definitely below the curve. That game is
I think it is below
pretty
the
loved.
curve. I think the people who love it have not played the second half of the game. That's been my opinion on it for a while. The second half of the game gets significantly worse, and people do not talk about it. So I think people play like the first 6 hours, which is fantastic, and then they just sort of, judge everybody else who had to play the whole game. I haven't
played the whole thing, so I can't speak to it.
That's like
Anyway.
everyone, like 90% of the people I talk to. I'm like, did you play the ending? And they're like, no. I'm like, dude, the last half of that game is pretty, it's a slog. Anyway, so this is much more kind of, if Alien Isolation is closer to the first Alien movie where you're running away from like a single xenomorph and you have basically no way to combat it, this is like Aliens, where there's lots of xenomorphs constantly. You start seeing them within like the first 5 minutes of the game, and you shoot them and take them down like pretty easily because you got a pulse rifle and you got other weapons. And so this one, you're kind of getting swarmed by them, and you have to take them out. It stars a character, Zula Hendricks, which I'm not sure if you guys have read the Alien comic books.
You can be sure that I have not.
Okay,
No.
well, she is a character from the comics. Pretty cool character, and if you have not read the comics, that's fine, because they do a pretty good job of introducing you to her and her synthetic companion, Davis. And you run around shooting aliens and trying to fix things that are broken, because every piece of machinery is broken in the alien universe and makes a lot of noise when you try to fix it. And obviously that draws a lot of xenomorphs to your location. I think it's a really good first attempt at Alien in VR. It does have some areas that it's lacking. It is pretty bare bones. You've got 3 weapons. They're pretty generic weapons. You got a pistol, shotgun, pulse rifle. And you spend a lot of the game doing the same thing. Like, obviously xenomorphs are basically the only enemy you fight. That is somewhat a limitation of the universe, but also, other Alien games, they throw in synths when it makes sense. They throw in some of the other creations from Xeno genetics, without going too much into spoilers if you haven't watched all the Alien movies. And this one, you see xenomorphs and they're kind of the only enemy the whole game. And I will say the cool thing about this game is you can get through it in like 6 to 8 hours, especially if you're playing on normal. I was playing on the hardest difficulty, so I was dying every once in a while and having to replace stuff. But if you're playing on normal, where the xenomorphs are pretty much pushovers, you can get through it pretty quick. I like that, because I think it doesn't overstay its welcome. You can play it in like 1 or 2 sittings if you're like me and can play like 3 or 4 hours at a time. And the cool thing about this game is, with it coming out, they announced a sequel as part of like the title card. Like, you get to the title
I want to
card
ask about that. That's what I wanted to ask a question about, because I was excited for this game. Decided not to buy it because I went to the store page where I had already wish listed it and was ready to buy it when it came out, and the card had changed to say Part 1.
Yes. So when the game came out, actually when reviewers got the game, the review guide that they sometimes include in these things was like, hey, by the way, part of the reveal when this game comes out is that it's actually Part 1 of like a series of games that we're going to make. This is pretty common in VR. Maybe it's a memory capacity thing or whatever, but they tend to do parts and chop games down into small pieces.
But I hate it.
Yeah, it's a different model. And so this is their first game, and the second one, Part 2, is already in production, and the ending of the game sort of leads into that. And so yeah, it's a.
So, but
part
that was
one
my
of
question. Does
many.
this have a satisfying arc/conclusion at all if it's part
Yeah,
one?
I'm actually surprised that it was the setup for a sequel based on like what happens in it. But this is definitely like Zula Hendrix's arc in the Alien universe. Not going to go into any spoilers there, but yeah, if you have no interest in playing two, I think you could just play one and have a pretty satisfying game. And frankly, 6 to 8 hours feels like the right length for the story they're telling and kind of the limitations in universe on what's happening in the world, because 6 to 8 hours of killing a couple xenomorphs every 30 seconds. That's also one of the problems with it, is like if you're, unless you're on the super hard difficulty, which I would argue is like for people who've probably already played the game a couple times and sort of know the rules and the flow, you're killing xenomorphs pretty easily, and they come after you every time you make noise, which is like anytime you open a door or do anything. And so you're kind of just like stopping what you're doing, waiting for them to crawl out of a duct, shooting them a couple times, and then moving on. And you kind of are just like, all right, dude, these xenos are annoying. And I feel like that should not be how you feel about xenomorphs. I don't feel like they should be an irritation, which I think is one of the issues with the game. But I actually think the story is quite good. And I think the environments are really cool. They get the universe so right. Like you have to interact with computers using a joystick, like from an Atari, to like go and click on things, and use those old tube computer monitors from the 80s. And it's
So
very
old.
yeah. I mean, to me it's ancient. And
Man,
yeah,
I used an amber colored monitor.
I don't even know
what
what
to
that
tell
is.
The orange computers.
No, I don't know those.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's a fun game. If you're an Alien fan and you're hoping that it would be good in VR, I think this passes the test. It does not like excel it or blow it out. Like if you've played other VR games, you'll kind of be like, all right, this is pretty like by the numbers, but it's Alien in VR. That's cool. And I think the sequel could really level that up and be even better. So I'm in. I'm going to play the second one, whether I review it or not. And I think other people should give this one a try if they've got the appetite. Tazo, if he wants to
that
know
was the
how long
question I wanted to ask, because I
Yeah.
was worried that it would just cut off in midstream and then say buy the second one when I saw
Yeah.
part one. So if it's not that, that's encouraging. Of course, I don't
certainly not
trust your
that.
judgment on the Alien franchise at all now.
I would say
that's tricky.
I would say that it ends that story and then sort of immediately starts another one, and so
Which is fine. I don't
yeah,
mind a sequel hook.
Yeah, if you don't mind a sequel hook, I would say that it pretty much wraps up like everything I thought I was gonna get. Like when you start the game and you kind of know the premise of it, I think it finishes that arc and then sort of hints at more to come. So yeah, I think as a standalone, it's fine. Yeah, it's not one like if you're making your top 10 list, I doubt this is going to be on it because it pretty much just apes like what other VR first person shooter type games have done, but it's fun. And if you're into Alien, it's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Specifically, if you're into Aliens, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I said this last week, but that seems like a strange naming convention for a game that features multiple xenomorphs.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Alien Rogue Incursion, but the setting is also, I should say, on an ice planet, so it is extremely reminiscent of the second movie. It is basically an Aliens, right?
Oh, okay, cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
was it
real
an
quick,
ice planet or was it just rainy? I can't really remember.
It was rainy.
In my head, it's blue, so it was kind of like
it's filtered to be kind of dark and bluish, but it's raining the whole time. Okay. It's a planet that they are. They have those weather systems on, and they're trying to like turn it into a habitable planet.
Yeah. Do a little terraforming noise.
Yeah. Well, I'll mention this quick, and I don't want to stay on it, but I had to after Ho's comments on Marvel Rivals last week. I had to install it, play it for myself, and just see, because I've talked to some of the guys at SG who are playing it, and I've talked to a couple friends that are playing it as well. So I played one match.
I just like the response to Hogue hates it that much. I got to put it on my computer. I love it.
Well, we talked about, it not feeling good. And we talked about it in comparison to Concord. And so I was like, well, let me check it out. And I knew the game wasn't for me. So I'll say that right from the gate. I'm not a Marvel guy. I don't care about superhero shooters. I'm not an Overwatch guy. So like, it's not a game for me. So played one match. I'm assuming there were some bots. I don't really know. They said, when you first play, you get kind of thrown the easy things because I went like 35-1. I was MVP, and it was super easy. But I will tell you, generally speaking, like I said, not for me. And I agree with you, Hogue. I wasn't blown away at all by the feel of this game. It feels very. Sounds insulting, and I don't really mean it this way, but I call it like a participation trophy shooter. It feels very easy to just run around, aim, shoot, and do damage to other people because there's 10 people in a hallway that all have different abilities, and you're just kind of mixing and matching now. And talking with the people at the guys at SG who have played a lot more of this, obviously, they say, once you get into the higher levels and you start having to synchronize your abilities of your 5 characters on each team, much more higher level Overwatch, I presume, right? They really enjoy it. And they say, so if you're playing with friends and you're thinking about kind of your team combat and how you're coming together, it's really well done. So I don't want to detract anything from it. I'll just say it wasn't for me, but it felt very just like Fortnite. Fortnite's one of the biggest games in the world. And Fortnite bores me to tears. There is just nothing about that game that excites me. And I feel the same way trying to play Rivals. It was just like, I'm just standing there shooting. I'll hit a trigger once in a while to do an ability. And I was bored to death. So,
well, I already said I hated it. I deleted it halfway through my first play session. I disliked it so much, but I do like Fortnite. I think Fortnite having a big open environment where you get to pick where to land and you can have little adventures.
At least
not playing the game.
I gotta say, if you deleted it halfway through your play session, you actually deleted it at the end of your full play session.
I love it. It's pedantry, but I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love for you. You created a block in your mind of like, this is how long I want to play this game, and then you like cut it out. I love that you're like day planning in your head what the allotment.
Honestly, I was a lot of people were playing it. I often start out as an optimist with this many people can't be wrong, kind of as a notion. Obviously, that's not correct. Like a lot of people are wrong all the time, but I try to come at it from that perspective. And I played it, and you really get into your first match, and you can immediately feel how it controls, how it feels, and it's just not good. I played it on the PlayStation, not the computer, Ains, but I didn't. I
played on Xbox.
I played on Xbox too.
Yeah, it's just not for me. And to your point, when I say Fortnite, I think I was referencing more because you're right. Fortnite is battle royale, kind of bigger world. You can run around and do more things. For me, it's the shooting. Like if there's no depth to the actual shooting, which there's not here, it doesn't do a lot for me. Like I just
really a shooter primarily. It's got melee.
That's what I said. It's an ability game, right? It's a team-based kind of ability game, but it's just not for me. I'm much prefer like, if you think about kind of ability combined with shooting, something like Apex, right, is much more in my wheelhouse. This doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I would say
I wanted to try
it. Apex is primarily a shooter, and I view this as more like a brawler. Like some characters have guns, but it's not really the main way you interact with the combat.
Right. Yeah.
I think I liked it more than you guys. It was one of those games where I played it and I was like, okay, I see the appeal here. I'm not really like super into Marvel these days, which is funny because I was like a diehard comic book Marvel guy when I was growing up. But like, it kind of just didn't really resonate with me. And I also thought like, okay, to get good at this, I'd have to put in X hours. Do I really want to do that? No, right? It's just like with so many games out there, and I'm already working on my first 2025 review. So it's like, I just got to keep going on. But in another world, if I had enough time and had friends that were playing this and peer pressuring me to give it a try, I could see myself getting into it. So yeah.
Yeah. That's about it. Yeah. Just wanted to mention that. I figured I'd give it a shot. So, and I'm with you. I'm uninstalling it. I'm good to go.
I played some Balatro this week. I got the tick.
Nice.
Got it, man. I wanted it.
Balatro is very good.
I mean, great thing about Balatro, you can just play that. You can play that anytime.
Yeah, played some Indiana Jones. I know you've been playing that, Ains. I think I was ahead of you, and you've now passed me up.
So I've fallen way back.
Oh, I'm 30. I think 32 hours. I'm about halfway through the. I don't want to ruin anything.
Zone.
Because you do the 2 hubs, and then there's kind of like there's a couple sections of cinematics and other things. I'm
at the break, the second post second act break. Yeah.
So you're just going to the 3rd hub. And you're still in Giza. Yeah, so I'm about halfway through, I'd say, the third hub now. I've done 3 or 4 of the bigger side quests there, and I've kind of explored a little bit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm
I love
mostly
this
a little
game.
bored is what's happening with me. I said that I have this issue when I go to new hubs in all sorts of games. It's not really the game's fault. But in this particular case, there's not a lot driving me forward. And I really dislike when all the people come in and chase after you and you wind up with piles of bodies and it's completely not Indiana Jones experience. And it's like, yes, all right, Rick, be more stealthful. That's fine, except I don't have to be. And then the Nazis run around the corner and I punch them out and then there's a pile of Nazis. And it's like, I don't remember this scene from the movies. And I'm not enjoying myself because the combat isn't good. So I still like the game. It's still one of my favorite games of the year.
It's crazy. Doug pretends to be a Indiana Jones fan and doesn't remember the pile of Nazi scene. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's deleted. It's deleted. You have to go in the bonus content, but like I feel like a real fan would have done that. So it's, kind of it's weird.
Well, in any event, it wasn't scratching the itch I wanted it to scratch as what I think is an Indiana Jones fan. But I didn't like the intro either. So I think it's a very good game. It's one of my favorite of the year, but it has lost me for a moment here.
Indiana Jones and the pile of Nazis.
Now that's a book
I'm in
title.
for that. Yeah, I'm in
Raiders
for that.
of the pile of Nazis.
Yeah, I'm still enjoying it. From what?
Do we count the people that died at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark? Is that a pile of Nazis? That's kind of a pile of Nazis.
It's a pile of ash of Nazis.
Yeah, they get dissolved.
No. Their faces get burned off, but they're piles. I think that's a pile.
Yeah, Alex finished it, and I asked him. It's funny. I got to that third hub, Travis, and I was like, "Where am I in this game?" And he goes, "Oh, you're past halfway." And I was like, "Halfway?" He goes, "Yeah, it's a big game. It's very big. So, like, I guess once I get through this hub, then there's a few more sections to go through after that too." So,
yeah, I think there's 3 big hubs if I remember from reading the previews.
Yeah, and then there's and then he said there's some stuff after this, but this hub's pretty big too. So it's I'm still loving the heck out of it.
I think Giza's the worst of the hubs. It is a little barren, and there's some fun stuff, but you have to dive into caves and all that. The overworld is a little it's not as good as the Vatican, where there's a lot of
Vatican was really well done. Yeah, the third one, I don't know. I'm still kind of going through it. I think the third one's a little more like Giza. You're in a completely different environment, but I think it plays a little more like that. But I want to get through Indy, and I want to get through Astrobot. I want to play a little more Stalker. I want to play a little more Silent Hill 2. So I'm trying to get through Silent Hill 2. My wife, I was trying to play that with her, but she gets motion sickness really easily. And so it's really tough. She just can't control the games long, or even watch them long. So I probably have to take that one offline and play that myself because I want to finish those games before we have our conversation.
That's a good list.
So, yeah, they're good games. Yeah, and Stalker 2 is still sitting out there, which another huge game.
I mean, you're missing Outlaws. You really should play.
Well, my plan was to start Outlaws over the holiday, and I'm not even close at the moment. So
you should start it on Life Day.
Life Day, what's that?
It's their Christmas.
Who's Christmas?
Star Wars.
Oh, the Star Wars universe is Life Day. I did not know that.
Oh, well, come over to my house on the 25th. We will be showing the Star Wars Christmas special at my place. You're going to learn about Hawumpa Rump. You're going to learn about Life Day. You're going to get to see some performances from very odd cast of characters.
There is a Golden Girl appearance.
You might see Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford doing what they would just later describe as the biggest regret of their professional career. It's a good time. Come on over and watch the Star Wars Holiday Special with me. Yours truly, nice. Postmaster Northup.
Outlaws is there as well. So I'm hoping, because I was looking at the release schedule, which we're going to talk about here shortly, of 2025. There's not a lot in January this year, which is good. So I'm hoping we can kind of tail the catch up into before February hits. We'll see.
I've got a January game that I'm playing right now.
I bet I know what it is.
What is it? I want you to guess.
Eternal Strands.
I wish. That's a good guess. No.
Yeah.
I'm playing a survival game called Aloft.
Okay.
If you guys have not seen this game, I cannot talk about it yet, but I can describe to you what the game is because you can see it on Steam, which is it's a survival game where you're in a floating island, kind of like think of Skyward Sword Zelda game, except for you can turn the islands into aircrafts and fly them around the map. So you like put wings and sails, and you basically turn some of these floating islands into floating pirate ships, and you float around. It's got multiplayer, and
do
that's
what?
the game.
What's the goal?
It's a survival crafter, you know.
Survival
survive and
crafter.
craft.
I'm not sure how much I can say beyond, because I just told you what is on Steam, but I can describe to you what the gameplay is in January. I think January 15 is when this game goes live. So somewhere around then I will be able to talk about it. But that's what I'm playing right now.
So 3 weeks from now, you can talk about the game you just mentioned. Good
I
call.
mean, we don't have a show next week, and real life January.
By the way, Mitch Arabco, is that says just finished the main story of Outlaws, criminally underrated.
Agreed.
Outlaws is fantastic. You will enjoy it, Ains.
Cool.
It's a good game. I understand the criticism of that game, but I love it.
I do too.
I think it's good.
Yeah. I think I was waiting. I don't know if it's out yet. One of the things I was waiting on was a PS5 Pro update for that.
They updated it with an off switch. So the PS5 Pro update was not interacting very well.
Yeah,
so Ubisoft gave off switches to both Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws. So you don't have to use the PSSR.
Yeah, they just need to put more work into it. That's what happened with Silent Hill 2 as well. What they're finding out, right? You can't just put on PSSR without any other development and say go. It doesn't seem to turn out well. So
right, and it's weird that Sony didn't have an outreach program for helping these developers or telling them what they can't do with it, because it does appear the developers just tried it and then it was rejected by the populace or Digital Foundry or wherever you want to look for commentary on what it looked like on the PS5 Pro, and now developers are backing off of it. But you could have avoided all of that with a better kind of institutional control program.
In theory, yeah, I don't have any details on it. I look at stuff like, like Resident Evil 4 remake is spectacular. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what the level of effort is. I don't want to speak about it. Rick Davis said they also allow you to use FSR3 instead, and it's much better. So, okay.
They remade Resident Evil 4? Why haven't I heard of this?
I was playing it the other day to check it out, and it's wow, makes me want to go through it. So
I played that game twice last year.
Too many games.
I beat it when it came out, and then I beat it again when it came out in VR.
Playing in VR, and especially now with that Pro update, that would be really cool to play that.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I think I gave it an 8, something like that.
Cool.
Pretty good. Or maybe 9.
Hogue, I'm sure you have a couple games you've been playing. What you got?
I do have a couple games I've been playing, but ultimately this week has not been much of a Hogue's Notes week because I have been playing through some kind of forever game strategy games that I like to play that I don't usually bring up here. And other games, like you said, catching up on some of the stuff that I hadn't finished off across the year. I do want to mention one game that I started playing this week that I hadn't seen before. I missed it on my other kind of searches through the store that I'm really enjoying, called Melatonin, which is a rhythm game in which you are a slacker in a pink hoodie and you are falling asleep and dreaming about things. So it's all things that you're dreaming about. But like, say you have a dream about food, it's going to be a rhythm game with like lo-fi beats telling you how to eat pizza that is thrown at you by a flying pizza box.
Sweet.
Or a
Sounds
flying
like a
hamburger
game.
box. And then you're going to have a dream about like followers and social media. And you're going to have to jump your character in time with the rhythm to different like icons of Twitter or Instagram or things like that. It's hard to describe because it really is a rhythm game. You're mostly just hitting the X button and some other buttons from time to time, but it is intensely difficult. It is just based on counting out the measures and like little clues in the animation. So you have to learn all these different animated beats in the game. I find it to be both calming and really stressful at the same time. So I do recommend people check it out.
That is a game that is very relatable. It speaks a lot to like my life, and I feel like lots of people's lives.
Well, it has some really good music in it. It has some really cool little animations in it. I think it's a one-guy project, but I have been playing it on my PlayStation, and I do recommend it. It's just really, really hard. So don't go in expecting a rhythm game that you're just going to wander through really fast. It's separated into worlds like a Mario game. So you have like different nights that you're sleeping and dreaming about different things. And the music changes based on like how difficult of the setting that you select for the game level. And it's just really cool.
How are you with rhythm games these days?
Well, my right hand is in charge of the buttons, so okay.
Noise. Good.
So you said you're mainly just pressing X.
Yeah.
Or one button mainly.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but you said it's incredibly hard. So I'm trying to reconcile that in my head. Is it just that the rhythms get really intense and varied?
Yeah, so imagine I talked about the flying pizza box, right? So imagine the pizza box has essentially 3 or 4 different patterns that it could throw it to you on. And that in one pattern, it's appropriate to hit the button on the 3 beat. On another pattern, it's appropriate to hit the button on the 5 beat or the 1 beats that you're counting 4 measures. And on another, it's like 3.5. It's on the off beat.
Yeah.
And the animations that you're looking at don't give you like a meter. It's not an X floating over something. It's not a bar. You have to figure out what they're doing with the pattern, remember the patterns, and then hit the button on exactly the beat. And then imagine that the window is just set to be very narrow. It wants it to be difficult. So late and early are big and broad, and perfect is very narrow.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm just going to pretend that every time I'm hitting X, I'm hitting it to doubt, like an L.A. Noir. doubt.
I just think it's a cool idea. Yeah,
is there like on how accurate you are to
is there a story? Did you just hear him talk about the flying pizza box? Come on, bro.
I didn't say story. I said scoring.
Oh,
scoring.
Okay, my bad.
Yes, there is scoring. So you have a practice round that does use kind of a meter and a hovering button that you can learn the patterns and the music. And then it has the normal scoring round. Then it has a hard scoring round. Those both give you different versions of the currency that you're using to advance the levels. So stars for normal and like planets for hard. And then it has, if you do well enough on hard, you can earn a custom mode where you can kind of set up your own level.
Ains, can I suggest a poll for the chat right now?
Of course.
Which would you press X for? Option 1, to doubt. Option 2, pay respects.
I press X to Jason. I don't know what you're talking
about. Isn't it press F to pay respects?
Oh, no. I mean, it depends what platform you're playing on. Because on Xbox, it was X. And also, yeah, I think Hogue, great to shout Jason as the third.
I press X to Jason. Poll. That's what I do.
Jason.
James, do you know that reference?
I don't think so.
Really?
That is Heavy Rain.
Man, interesting. Okay.
Heavy Rain, I have not played. No, I never played Heavy Rain.
You know, I think it's a little overrated.
Yeah. I played, what was the other one? Beyond?
Oh, you played the bad one. Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond's good.
Worse.
Beyond
I like
Two
Beyond
Souls.
better than Heavy Rain. Yeah. Yeah, hold on to your hat, Travis.
Dude, Hogue, I love you, man. Every time I think you're going to say something that makes sense, you say the opposite. And it's delightful.
I like Beyond better than Heavy Rain.
Thank you for being so uniquely you garbage eating little raccoon. I love you.
You know, I got the Elliot Page Astrobot in Astrobot the other day. Yeah. And I swear, and this goes back to the original marketing for the game Beyond, that or for The Last of Us, that it looked like Ellie to me. Like they are so identical, even in Astrobot form.
Yeah.
That you can't differentiate them.
They are. The poll is up, by the way. Poll up on the SG side.
I have voted. I have a very strong opinion on this matter.
You want to press X to Jason, folks.
I don't know about that. I think I'm on a different team here. We'll see how the votes come.
We'll see what the audience says.
Wow, dude, it's dead heat right now.
I do like Beyond better though. Come on, Willem Dafoe. It's good stuff.
They have great actors and a terrible script.
It is a terrible script, but I like the arc of that, and I like the ending of that game.
The correct answer we were looking for was actually Indigo Prophecy, but nice.
Indigo Prophecy loses its darn mind by the end of that game.
Indigo Prophecy, goated game, goated game, goated. Use my cane.
Indigo Prophecy does feature some of my favorite, like California prog rock. But outside of that,
hell yeah,
Beyond's a better game than both of them.
That's an insane thing.
Now I'm just picturing Hogue jamming to California progressive rock.
Sir.
While you're voting, go ahead and on both sides of the house, we'll shout out. Hit the like button, share it out. We always appreciate that. It helps us as always. Hogue, any other game you want to touch on before we start to get to what is coming?
I do. I have one more game that I wanted to mention. This game actually came out at the end of 2023, but I found it in 2024. It is one of my favorite city building, real-time strategy type games that I've ever played. It's called Against the Storm. I think it's pretty popular on Steam. I don't think it's mega popular, but it's a game in which the concept appears to have been, what if we just played the early hours of a city builder over and over again? So it takes city building and adds a kind of roguelike meta world building style to it while you build a city for humans and beaver people and lizard people and frogs. They all have their different wants and
Another
different powers.
relatable game.
Another relatable game. Who doesn't want to build a happy little town for animal folks while surviving a devastating storm that makes everybody hate you?
Yeah,
This is a incredibly highly rated game.
I love it to death. It's one of my favorite games of the past 10 years.
It is 26,500 reviews on Steam. It is a full 5 stars. Eurogamer gave it a 10. It's a 10 out of 10 on Steam. It's a 4.7 out of 5 on GOG.
See, we don't talk about PC games too often.
Reviews.
Or 26,000.
26,500.
One person left a half review.
No. Stop it. $14.99 as well, so not an expensive game to check out.
Yeah, I think Steam should be going into the Christmas sale, so that might already be on their sales. But Against the Storm, I can't give a high enough recommendation. If you like city builders at all, if you like resource management, annos, those kind of games, this game takes the notion of city building and says you are going to build a dozen or more cities while advancing a kind of meta progress loop to help your kingdom. And it gets to the best part of city building over and over again with different roguelike type adjustments that you have to make to what buildings you have access to, what powers you have, what things you have to worry about. It's an excellent design. It's very imaginative. It's not what I've seen before in this space. And as 26,000 Steam reviewers apparently also think, it's a good expense of your money.
Yeah, both all reviews, all time and recent reviews are both overwhelmingly positive. It's also a 91 on Metacritic. And yes, it's normally $30. It is $15 right now, or you can get, it looks like they have some DLC bundles or additions you can get to. You can get the whole collection for $27. So there you go.
Yeah, there's one major DLC. There's probably also like a soundtrack or something in there, but definitely get it. I've been playing it a lot.
You've been spending more time on Steam these days. You're retreating to your Steam world. Is that accurate?
I don't know if I would characterize anything that I do as retreating in any way. I'm always moving forward, Travis.
Interesting.
But I have been playing Steam a little bit more often this past month as I finished up with 2024's console games. I do often play on PC. We just don't talk about it a lot in this space.
Interesting.
The games you play on PC, I think, are a little more, I won't say obscure, but less mainstream maybe than the other ones we talk about as well, I think.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah. I mean, Steam also is just a high volume of games, but you don't get like the curation. Like it's a little bit of a crapshoot if you're just out there.
Bag.
Yeah, if you're out there just like taking chances on games. It's a dangerous business in Steam.
By the way, press X to Jason is winning. Just letting you know.
Yeah,
that's right, people.
Some people just don't get it.
I think Hogue influenced it.
I think he did. Yeah. I think he's got this just army of followers in our chat.
I just have my finger on the pulse. People want to press X to Jason. It doesn't make any sense as a sentence.
First of all, you do not press X to Jason. You press cross to Jason, sir.
Yeah, I was just having this conversation with my daughter because we were playing Astrobot, and like the place to get the X challenge levels is called like the Cross Void. And she's like, why is it called that? I'm like, well, technically, if you go back to the PlayStation like original manual, it was making symbols instead of letters on their controller. So that's not an O. That's not an X. It's a cross and a circle. If you want to give them full power over your ability to manifest your own thoughts.
X is also a symbol.
To us, it's an X.
All right. Very good. Very good. We got one super chat while we were chatting. This was in regard, by the way, to Alien Isolation conversation. So Robert Brown.
Robert Brown, €5. Most people don't finish games. the start is the majority experience.
Now, first,
Probably
I have
correct.
to say, Travis, that is a pound symbol. UK famously not a part of the European Union.
Oh, you're right. That is a pound.
Yeah, did you say euros? How dare you, sir? How dare
I did not. I said, what did I say? Euros?
You did say euros.
Oh, yeah, it's a pound. Sorry.
But
pounds.
Also, I would say I agree entirely with Robert Brown here. It's one of the reasons that I've wanted to have some kind of review apparatus, whether it's my own or somebody else's, that really talks about the first 12 hours or so of a game. Because games are so long, they're so big, you see it in achievements, you see how few people actually make it all the way through, that it would be useful to be like, okay, you just spent your money, you've downloaded the game, you've put the disc in the tray. How is your experience going to be tonight? How is it going to be the rest of the week? Because you probably aren't seeing the back 50 hours of this game. And I don't say that to mean that IGN or GameSpot or anybody else is doing anything wrong. They have to review the whole product. But I do think there is value in when I spend my money, what is my experience going to be in the time that I'm most likely to actually experience it?
Yeah.
I hate that.
I think that would be a useful review format. That would be a useful review format. I recommend anyone who is not IGN do it, because it would be hilariously, it would go over very poorly if an outlet like IGN did that. But I think it's a good rule to have to review the entire game. I can't imagine.
I agreed with you.
Yeah. I can't imagine reviewing, the first half of Titanic. Very different movie if you only watch VHS 1.
And obviously a 3-hour commitment is different than a 100-hour commitment.
Exactly. But with video games, it makes sense. And Robert Brown is correct that most people do not finish games. And nothing wrong with that. But I finished.
There is, because the product to them.
Clicking wrong buttons. Sorry about that.
Sorry,
bro, dude. You got one on too long, Hogue. Hogue notes took
That's
too
it.
long.
You cut out that. I played Hogue off.
Playing you off, dude.
Sorry, Hogue.
All I was saying was that the product to them really is all they're going to experience. So the last 50 hours don't really matter to the money that they've spent if they get what they wanted out of what they're actually going to play.
Yes. My counter to that would be that some games, if you do not finish them, maybe there's a problem with how long they go on or what their expectation of.
I'm not telling you not to review the whole thing. I think you should.
Yeah,
I just think
I do think that would be a cool format, though. If it were up to me, I would review the full game, and then I would do a second video as like a short that was like, let's review the first 10 hours of this game. And it would just be like, here's my thoughts. If you're only going to play the first 10 hours, here's what I think is good and bad. And maybe you could score it differently or whatever. That would be a fun format. So
I've long thought that. Ains is going to have me booted for the show for thinking that.
Yeah, I could not disagree more. I just think it's like, well, first of all, you can do that for some game. It depends on the game, right? You're talking about some games where you're doing the same thing for hours on end, but trying to perfect it. So if you play for 10 hours, you've experienced the breadth of the game, whereas something like Metaphor, 10 hours, you're not even barely getting started. You know what I mean?
But I think with like Metaphor, you can tell people this is how that's going to be.
Yeah, the review for Metaphor would be the first 10 hours are hella slow, and and also I think people already review parts. Like if you think about it, like movies are broken into parts. People review individual TV episodes. If a game has a sequel, it's part of the same story. You're kind of already reviewing a part of it. So you are essentially reviewing like the thing they're paying for, the whole package. But if to Hogue's point, if you're only going to play the first 10 hours, I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, here is my quick, kind of humorous review of like, if you're only going to have time for the first 10 hours, here's what you're in for. I think it's funny. If anything, it's a little amusing,
If you buy Metaphor knowing you're only going to play 10 hours, what the hell are you buying it for? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that would be the purpose of the video, is to be like, don't buy it if you're only going to play the first 10 hours, because some games are good if you only play 10 hours. So you can make
one review and just put it out there for your entire series. There you go. If you're only going to play a fifth of the game, don't buy it. Done.
Well, but there's some games that are really good if you only play the first 10 hours, and then you save yourself heartache by playing the back 30 or whatever. So
again, obviously, as you can tell from Hogue's notes and just my general enjoyment of video games, I play a lot more games than I finish.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yes, we know that.
How is Xenoblade Chronicles 3 going?
He's never going to let you live that one down.
How is that game going?
Eagerly awaiting the Switch successor is how it's going.
I'm sure that's what's holding you back all that time.
I'm just saying that everything that was long and maybe not performance perfect on the Switch 1 has been in a sort of holding pattern to see when the Switch 2 was coming out. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to open that bakery. I believe in you.
He's coming to join me in my bakery. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
It's going to happen, dude. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Anyway, thank you for the super chat. And Midnight Jury gives a member comment to say happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, Jury, and everyone else watching for that matter.
I hope it's happy for y'all. I really do.
We'll get there.
How come Travis always sounds sarcastic, even when I think he's being sincere?
I
think that time he was being sarcastic.
I've been told that. I was not being sarcastic, but this is great feedback.
This is your year-end review.
No, this is all very useful. We're learning stuff here. It's good.
Yep. Let's jump over then. We're going to start previewing 2025 because it's already shaping up to be a very, very big year in games. And there's a lot to go through. So I kind of sat down and I went through what has planned release dates, which obviously, is kind of the first quarter so far. Obviously, things will shift around. And it goes without saying that some of the games we'll talk about today are planned for 2025. We all know that some of this will move, some of it will shift. It might not hit 2025. So that should be expected as well. But let's talk about coming out of the gate in 2025. So we were saying earlier about January. Feels like the first couple, and again, I'm not covering all the games. There's a million games that release every week. That should go without saying.
Cover them all. But let's make it a 9-hour podcast.
It's impossible.
Yeah, the first couple weeks of January are pretty light compared to some of the other years we've had in recent years. February is where it really goes nuts. But we've got Eternal Strands and one of the smaller games I'm really excited about, and Tales of Iron 2. Both coming out on January 28th now. So those release dates were announced recently. So I think they're pretty solid there.
Nice.
Also, are you going to be covering Eternal Strands? Do you know that yet?
I should ask Tom. Let me do that now. I'll text him.
Live, folks.
Real-time updates of how IGN functions with their reviews. But that one looks good. Obviously, Travis previewed that one earlier this year for the IGN first. And then Tales of Iron 2, if you're not familiar with that, it's a little 2D side-scrolling. Sadly, it gets thrown into the Souls-like, which 900
it's a Souls
million
combat
games.
System.
Yeah, I mean it's a parry challenging 2D game. But I reviewed the first one. Really cool studio, really fun game, and the second one looks to expand upon that. So pretty pumped for that. Yeah, we've talked, I think, quite heavily around what's coming in February because it's ridiculous. But just I'll run through what's scheduled right now for February, and then you can touch on these games individually if we want to. So
I am reviewing Tales of the Shire. Oh, we'll talk about it. I mean, go ahead.
This guy.
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
February. So we get Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, February 4th. Remember, they moved that one up. We get Civ 7 the next week on February 11th. We get AC Shadows or Assassin's Creed Shadows that same week, February 14th, which is a Friday, I believe. Then we get Avowed February 18th, that following Tuesday. The same day as Avowed, we get Lost Records Bloom and Rage, February 18th. That later that week, we get Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii on the 20th. And then the following week, we get Monster Hunter Wilds on the 28th. So nice. February always shaping up, especially for, as I think we said before, kind of the big RPG fans. So it's a hell of a month. I don't know about you guys. I know I've already said this, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, probably my most anticipated game right now in the near future anyway. I'm super pumped about that one. So easily my most anticipated for that month. But obviously, I think Monster Hunter Wild is going to be the biggest game that month. It's going to be gigantic. AC Shadows should be huge too. And you guys thinking, what are you thinking about AC Shadows with Ubisoft sitting where they are at this moment? You think this one's going to land?
It has to. I mean, if it doesn't, Ubisoft is in dire straits. So they bet the company on this game. So
I think it'll do fine.
Expect a huge marketing push. I also agree that it will do fine. I don't know that it'll be big enough for them to be happy with it because
they're going to Square Enix it.
They're in trouble.
I think they might be happy with it. I mean, Assassin's Creed games sell like gangbusters, and people have been asking for the Japanese one for a long time. So I think it might.
I think it's going to be huge, but I think Hope's point is Ubisoft's in trouble, and I don't know if this game can be big enough singularly to.
It has to be bigger than Valhalla, I think, for them to be actually happy with it, and I don't know. I think
it'll be bigger than Valhalla. I think it will be.
But I'm excited about it. I have to remember what happened in Kingdom Come Deliverance or play it again because it's been long enough that it just didn't stick in my head.
You didn't beat it, did you?
I didn't beat it. I don't think so. I can't remember.
You're good. I've got a review of the first 10 hours I'll do for you.
Yeah. You also, I really doubt, based on the story in the first Kingdom Deliverance, that you're going to need to have played the first one to get the second one.
It's it's a direct sequel.
I know it is, but did you finish Kingdom Come Deliverance?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. I mean, it's not really going to matter.
Travis is trying to hide something. I don't have any idea what happens. At the end of Kingdom Come
There are
Deliverance,
some
apparently.
story implications if you haven't played it. You don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, but I don't think they're expecting everybody to have finished that game just based on what
Probably
I've seen.
not.
Yeah,
No.
I think you'll be fine, Hogue. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, as always, I recommend in these situations, Hogue, find a YouTube video that goes over the story of it. Just 15 minutes, watch it.
You just don't trust YouTubers. They're inherently untrustworthy, right, Travis?
I don't trust them either. I really don't. Especially the radicalized ones. Those are the ones you really have to watch out for.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those. Civ 7. Hogue, this one up your alley?
I love Civilization as a series. I don't like anything that I've seen out of the design, like docs for this game. So if I play more Civ games after February 11th, it'll probably be like Civ 4 or 5 rather than buying the new one at full price.
So you're going to wait to see.
I'll play the new one. I'm excited for it. We'll see.
I really like the music. I like Christopher Tin as a composer. I like the music they played at the Game Awards, but that's not going to sell me on the entire project. So
yeah.
Okay. Avowed, I'm excited for.
I'm reviewing Avowed.
You did say that. Nice. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to. Although, you know what? I might rather review Avowed than Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
That way you could play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 on your own time. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. I know that is.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe we'll be review buddies.
Avowed is also apparently on the shorter side, so it might be a little better for reviewing.
A little closed more,
like 30
supposedly.
hours, I think, something like that. So
yeah, so more condensed. So yeah, I'm excited though. I think Obsidian, I generally trust Obsidian. I think they're
goated.
Yeah. Monster Hunter Wilds, we've talked about, going to be an absolutely massive
that one.
Yeah, I actually have it pre-ordered, which I've never done for a Monster Hunter game. I made a promise to Elu at SG that I would play this with him. And there's some other people at SG that just love Monster Hunter. So I'm going in on this one. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, it grabs me. We'll see. All right, that jumps us over to March, where we've got a few release dates here. I put this one on here for you, Hogue, because I remember you saying Mrs. Hogue is a big 2 Point fan, if I remember correctly.
You remember correctly.
Yeah.
Excellent. 2 Point Museum.
It's one of three things we remember about Co-Counsel. It's into the 2 Point games.
I might have already bought 2 Point.
And House Flipper, was House Flipper one of them? Or
House Flipper is for my girls. They love that game.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we did skip Ains. I was waiting for you to query me on Pirates in Hawaii. That's probably the game I'm looking forward to the most. In that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, sorry. I thought we had talked about that previously, but yeah. I haven't looked up much of this one, only because I shamelessly didn't finish Infinite Wealth. I'm not even probably halfway through Infinite Wealth.
That's a big
it's a big boy.
Which is a shame, yeah, because I adored Like a Dragon, completed it, which is rare for me with JRPGs, as you know.
Is Infinite Wealth not connecting with you in the same way?
I think something pulled me off of it.
Interesting.
And I don't know what it was at the time, and I just haven't gone back to it. But what is the expectation of this one? Obviously, this feels like an offshoot. Is this, kind of an offshoot in the sense of it's going to be like a 20 or 30 hour game, or is this a gigantic game? Like, what do we know more details about this one?
I don't know that we know more details. My expectation personally is that it's more like Man Who Erased His Name.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Like this is a beat 'em up. So in my opinion, it shouldn't be called Like a Dragon at all, but like they're moving the whole series name over to that. So that's why Yakuza is in the title at all. So Yakuza right now to RGG means beating up people in active time rather than the turn-based of Like a Dragon. So I think it's going to be more like Man Who Erased His Name, which is shorter than those enormous Like a Dragons, but not short.
My interpretation of this is a thing that they do where they built Hawaii, so they're going to use it for some other stuff.
Yes.
So here's them, throwing a beat 'em up in there, but it's not going to be its like primary use as a design level, right? They made this game for Like a Dragon, and now they're throwing other stuff in it, but they're very good at doing that. They've done it before, and they tell good stories, and this looks extremely unhinged. I'm gonna play
It
it.
does. It does. Yeah.
It does look crazy, and I love it.
Yeah, like we talked about last week, right? With the Game Awards, or last week. Yeah, jeez. RGG is killing it, so I have no doubt this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So, yeah, sorry for jumping over that. But in March, coming out of the gate, March 4th is 2 Point Museum, which I guess is just the next series in that series of games, correct? Because 2 Point.
Yeah, I mean, they're all
Museum.
spiritual successors. The 2 Point series is a simulator game. It started with hospitals. It did college campuses. Now it's doing museums. They're all very cartoony, but they have different mechanisms for what you have to worry about. Like hospitals is diagnosing diseases. And when you did 2 Point Campus, you had to schedule classes and figure out how to best use spaces for multiple classes at once, that kind of thing. Museum isn't going to have a component that has you acquiring artifacts and things to include in your building. And I think it'll be great. This team nails it every time they try. It does take them a few iterations, a few patches usually to get to a place where it's really maximally fun. But I think this game's going to be awesome.
Sorry, was responding to Don. Yeah, fantastic. So that's March 4th. And then March 6th, we get 3 I put on here, which is Fragpunk. Fragpunk is that competitive shooter where you crush the cards. I think I talked about it earlier this year. I played it in alpha. So we'll see.
You break the rules, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, you can like... It's got this weird combination thing. So like you can break a card and give all the enemies big heads so they're easier to headshot. You can flip the world upside down, all this crazy stuff they have in there. So we'll see how that turns out. They've had active play sessions for several months now. So it's been an alpha, beta, people giving feedback and testing it. Hopefully it's pretty well tuned by the time it comes out. But March 6th also gives us 2 big releases, really, which is Split. Go ahead.
So I was going to say the mechanics of having a big head. Wouldn't your skull be twice as thick? So maybe you would need to take more shots.
I'm sorry, I'm not qualified to give medical opinions on the thickness of one's skull.
I'm just wondering.
I thought you were going to say maybe you make big brain plays.
Exactly. Maybe you. So what are the advantages of having big brain? Do I get telekinesis? Like, what am I? I feel like there's a chance for lore here that I really hope Fragpunk and expect will go into.
I'm fairly certain the game that has you warping reality with cards that you crush in your hands is not going to have deep lore.
I'm expecting deep story, lots of narrative characters.
Every card has its own book about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to have a lot of world building, and I think we should go in expecting that and just pin all of our hopes on that. I think
for sure
Fragpunk is going to be the winner of Game of the Year Best Narrative.
And review it accordingly.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, absolutely.
Based on expectations. I mean, that's the right way.
It sounds like Tom Marks himself might be reviewing Eternal Strands based on his text upgrade. We already have code for it. That's pretty cool.
That's good. That means it should be pretty well polished.
Wow,
yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Now
I'm upset I'm reviewing Aloft.
March 6th, we get 2 big releases. Split Fiction, which we talked about last week, which is Haze Light's next game after It Takes Two, which already made waves after the Game Awards last week. And then one that yeah, it does. It looks great. And then one that Hogue said he's not interested in, but I, as an old school fan, I am interested in, which is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters finally coming out.
Why are you throwing me under that bus? I've been waiting for this game.
I don't know why you hate these games.
It was crazy.
He
was talking about how much he said this was like a hate crime. The fact that they were releasing the Suikoden games, which I thought was like kind of an overreaction.
You should see our chat. He got very violent about it.
What's funny is I think we were on tape at like the end of 2022 where I talk about being excited about the Suikodens, which were supposed to come out in 2023. Or maybe
I don't know how you got so angry about it since then.
Yeah, I think he's doing a little historical revisionism right now. It's kind of crazy to watch.
I love the Suikoden series. I am super excited about these games. In fact, the Euden Chronicles game that I was excited about this year was a big disappointment to me because I don't think they captured the magic of Suikoden. So this is one of those that I will definitely be getting. I might already have pre-ordered it. And I hope that Konami, which is not really in the business of making video games anymore, does this release justice.
But they make good slot machines. So if that can interest you in any way.
And Pachinko, right?
Yeah, and Pachinko. That's what they're mastering at the moment. But yes, all jokes aside, it's cool that those are finally coming. Hopefully that date doesn't slip again. classic games for sure. And then March 18th, and by the way, when I said Lost Records Bloom and Rage on February 18th, that's actually what they're calling Tape 1. And then Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 2 releases 1 month later on March 18th. So obviously an episodic series they're doing again here with this release. We get Tales of the Shire. There's your cue, Travis, on March
Let's talk about
25th.
Tales of the Shire.
Little cozy Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah, cozy Lord of the Rings game. You play a hobbit. It's single player, I found out, which is kind of surprising to me. But you go around the Shire, fishing, gardening, and putting on dinner parties for your hobbit guests. I'm all in. Let's see how weird it gets.
This one actively looks bad to me every time I see it previewed. So I wish this looked better. I love cozy games. I love the Lord of the Rings. I love Middle Earth. But every time they show this game off, I'm unimpressed. So
you never know.
Like the art style.
So hopefully Travis comes back and tells me it's just the awesomest thing ever.
Every once in a while, it's just a cash grab using the IP and not doing anything very interesting, and then sometimes you get really cool, unique projects with awesome worlds. So we'll see. I don't know which one it is. That's the joy of reviewing a game. You never know what you're going to get, Hogue. You get to play a game in its purest form before anything online exists, before anybody has told you their opinions. It's just you and the game.
I do have respect for that.
Very romantic.
Before anybody's told you whether it's good or not.
Very romantic.
It is actually quite cool, especially if it ends up being like an amazing game. Like I'm not going to wax poetic as usual about.
No, this is going to be about Elden Ring because I actually remember this story from you because I like that notion where you were saying like in your head it's coming across as a 9 or a 10 and you had to check yourself because whether you were just tilted towards this style of game. You didn't want to influence your review.
Well, and you're playing like I was playing it with not with, but alongside Miles and a few others, right? And like just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Because it's not like if you get stuck, it's not like you can reference anything, and you have to finish the game. So, it's a fun time. Second Opinion Pro says we love the gameplay at Summer Games Fest. I did. Yeah, Tales of the Shire was at SGF. I did not play it, but there's one opinion for you.
Somebody liked it.
Yes.
Very cool.
I haven't looked at any previews or anything. The game doesn't interest me, but.
Why not?
Yeah,
you're always talking about how much you like cozy games.
I love them. Yeah, that's where I live. Yeah, but Sard, who has done things for SG now, is really excited about this one, and so hopefully she can check that out for us as well.
Yeah, cool. I hope it's great. It just gives me bad vibes every time I've seen it, so I am hopeful that those vibes are wrong.
Yep. Later that same week, so 2 days later, on March 27th, we get two of the releases that Xbox has been promoting. So we get Atomfall, which is the game from the studio that does Sniper Elite, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Oh, very cool.
Which is like their sci-fi in Europe during World War II looking game. So it looks almost like they took the aesthetic, if you would, of Sniper Elite and then kind of added this sci-fi story over top. I guess we'll see. And then first Berserker Kazan, which looks to be an action. I don't know if it's a Souls-like, but it looks to be more like one of those kind of action, beat 'em up type games. Not beat 'em up maybe, but you know what I mean, action adventure games.
I am not interested in either of these.
No, Atomfall I'm waiting to see more of. I could be. First Berserker looks cool to me, depending on how it plays. So I'll
try them.
Yeah. That's really the main kind of release dates that we have, and like I said, takes us about through the first quarter. Now I have a bunch of other games listed here that we can just touch on quickly that are supposedly, as of today, releasing in 2025. As I said, it goes without saying a bunch of these games will move at some point. These are in alphabetical order in the way I put them anyway, so we'll just go down the list here. Borderlands 4 we just saw last week at Game Awards. Obviously, I know I've said many, many times I'm a huge Borderlands fan. It looks, as we joked last week, like Borderlands. So I hope they correct some of the things that many of us didn't like about Borderlands 3, in particular the writing. I forget the name. A gentleman came out last week and said he is writing on Borderlands 4, and it was fantastic news. And I'm sorry I'm forgetting his name right now, but he... definitely a good writer, so that was promising compared to 3. And I
They
think
had a lot of people on Twitter come out and say they were contract writing with Gearbox for Borderlands 4. I know
yes,
that.
Thank you. Yes. And I think they're doing that because the main complaint about Borderlands 3 was the story and the writing. So I think that, they're trying to get ahead of it. So we'll see. I'm fingers crossed. Here's one again. The Hogue was ranting about this one earlier this week. I don't really know why. I'm kidding. Claire Obscure,
it's literally
Expedition
number
33.
1 on my third-party list of things. Ains asked us to do homework for this show.
I did.
So I made lists of things I was interested in from each of the hardware platforms, and then I have a third-party list. And number 1 is the French RPG, the FRPG Expedition 33. I am so excited about this.
You're already calling it F. See what I mean? Like he's just already grading it just terrible. It's not good. So I was talking to these guys before the show. The Recent Edge has the cover story on this game. And I did not realize, like maybe others, that this was actually the brainchild of a gentleman at Ubisoft who was working on Division 2 of all things back in 2020, who later left the company. A few other people joined him, and as Hogue just rightly said, they're turning this into an RPG, which we saw. Where did we see this at? Did we see this at over the summer, or was it last year's Game Awards? I don't remember. I think it was summer, wasn't it?
The first was a teaser, and I don't know when its announcement was.
I want to say it might have been at Xbox's show, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think that's right. I think that's right. That was my breakout hit of the Xbox show because they didn't really highlight it. But it had this short little video. I think it was the Xbox show.
Yeah, I think you're right because I remember. Yes, looks fantastic. I'm very excited for this one, along with Hogue. I think this one's probably definitely in my top 5 of kind of expectations right now. It looks great,
which is hilarious to me because it's definitely a format that looks like a JRPG. I call it an FRPG because it's French and not Japanese. But it's clear that they are influenced by things like Final Fantasy. And
also
I am super excited about this game. The graphics look awesome. Turn-based RPGs are my favorite, and it looks to have a modern take on turn-based action. The acting, the voice actors are some of my favorites in video gaming right now. So as long as they wrote a good story that is worth telling, this is going to be one of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that you're right. Everything you just said is right. I'm hopeful that being Western European, they don't have some of the things in it that annoy me about most JRPGs. I hope it doesn't take 15 hours to get going. I hope that it doesn't beat you over the head with what it's trying to say over and over and over and over and over again until the end of time. I hope it
metaphor really hurts you.
I hope it has some of those other sensibilities.
I hope it takes 30 hours to get going. I hope that they explain things even more. I hope they do.
I'll tell you what, this is honestly, one I'm watching the 10-hour review on before I play.
Honestly, my fear here is European storytelling tends to be a little bit more tone poemy, a little bit more ephemeral. And I hope that they aren't that ephemeral in this story. And I don't know what their writing is going to be like at all because they haven't made one before. So true. I am holding out caution for that. But I'm very excited by what I've seen so far. It's the opposite of Tales of the Shire for me. Every time I see a preview of this game, I get more excited about it coming out.
Yeah, looks great. And the this article is really well done. It looks fantastic. So, yeah, you may be able to actually read that on their Edge Online, Hogue, by now.
Edge.
So, Crimson Desert's another one. So that's an action game we saw last week again. They've been talking about that one for a while. A lot of people I know are really excited for this one. Whether or not, it lives up to that expectation, who knows? But it definitely looks to have the bones of a pretty large kind of open world action adventure game. So we'll see. Yeah. Death Stranding 2 is
on the beach. The weirdest subtitle ever.
That is a weird subtitle.
Get excited for Death Stranding 2, folks. I know Ains doesn't like Death Stranding, so I'm going to take the reins from here. Death Stranding was one of my favorite games of this past generation. I really love it to death. For folks that didn't get far enough, that didn't get past that 12-hour review segment, it really blossomed as the game went on. One of my favorite stories in video games. Death Stranding 2 looks weirder and even more crazy Hideo Kojima than the first one. So that's going to be, reasonable minds can differ. Your mileage may vary on how much Hideo you can stand. But I am really, really excited about this game. and I hope it is as good as the first one.
Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding goes tropical.
Well, as you know from playing Death Stranding, Travis, the beach in the Death Stranding universe is not a physical tropical beach.
It's not the same as Infinite Wealth. I'm not going to wake up naked and go on.
I can't promise that. There's a lot of naked scenes in Death Stranding.
Arigato gozaimashita.
I hope you didn't just slur the entire Japanese audience base of this.
I was
show.
doing a flawless impression of all the voice actors in Infinite Wealth. You're welcome.
Done.
I play that game in English. I don't know what to do.
If I remember correctly, Travis, you're not a fan of Death Stranding either.
I think the game is quite boring. I think the story is fine. I kind of rolled my eyes out of my head when they had me like hanging out drinking Monster Energy drinks, and I was just like, "What is this freaking game?" I don't get it. I think it's a pretty boring game gameplay wise, but I will play the sequel. I will. I've actually also been meaning to replay this game since it came out on Xbox because it kind of is just a random excuse to replay it. So I might do that over the holidays. We'll see.
I find it interesting, Travis, that you are reviewing currently a survival crafter game and have played a bunch of survival crafter games in the past and don't recognize the skeleton of what Death Stranding is by the time the game gets going and say that that game type is boring. It's certainly different than an action game, but I wouldn't say it's boring at all.
I would say it's different than a survival crafter game for sure.
You're literally collecting things to craft things with.
It's got elements of it, but like some games move fast. Some games, I mean, I appreciate the creativity and the stuff that you can build with it, but I don't know. It's just
my network of zip lines was not to be matched. Tens of thousands of people use my zip lines. Tens of thousands.
Very cool. Yeah, man. I don't know. Just didn't connect with me. We'll see. I'll try again with the sequel.
Well, that's a problem because Death Stranding is all about connection.
Maybe that's my problem. Not a big connections guy.
You know who loved that game was Dan. Dan actually loved Death Stranding. Which
I remember him talking about that. Yeah,
unexpected for him. Yes.
Very weird. Yeah, but he did like that game. Yeah.
Well, Death Stranding 2 looks cool, and I didn't see on your list, Ains, is Metal Gear Solid Delta not scheduled for next year, or is it scheduled for next year?
I think it is tentatively scheduled for next year. Yes.
Okay, because that's one where, again, we put our faith in Konami to actually release a game that's decent. But I love Metal Gear Solid 3, probably my favorite of the series. And so a remake with modern technology seems like a cool mix, and I would love to see that game do well.
If the game is good, right? To your point, if it's done well, the game will do well. I mean, that series is beloved, right? So, but
I mean, we already have warning signs, right? I mean, one thing from that trailer that I don't love is that they've like changed the entire color scheme to be kind of modern Netflix trash looking rather than color graded like the original Metal Gear Solid 3 was. So I'm hopeful that Konami doesn't just take all of the spirit and energy out of that game to release it now in 2025 or later. And that's my worry there, because I do think Konami has a certain institutional judgment about its involvement with Kojima and may be inclined to take out as much Kojima as they can from anything that they make.
Ains is in. Ains is in.
I've always loved Konami.
It's possible. It's possible it'll make the Ainses of the world happy. I don't know. But I'm hopeful that the spirit of the original Metal Gear Solid 3 survives that transition.
Yep. We'll see. So talking about a good game now, Doom, The Dark Ages is coming.
You don't know if it's good yet. You never know if it's good until it's out.
Come on.
I loved Doom 2016.
Go ahead.
I did not love Doom Immortal.
Really interesting.
Eternal.
Sorry. See, that's how much I didn't love it.
I actually agree with you. I think 2016 is the better game of the two.
Interesting.
Yeah. I did not finish Eternal.
Oh, disqualifying. Hogue, did you finish
But
Eternal?
I think some of the things they did in Eternal.
I'm positive I didn't finish Eternal because I was not enjoying myself.
I finished it.
I think my not finishing of Eternal is my grade of Eternal.
Okay, but as we both know, Ains says you can't have an opinion on a game unless you finish it. Ains, chime in. Yep.
100% true. That's why I have no opinion of Eternal.
Cool.
20 Eternal felt like it tried to go too far with the whole system they had of the blue, red, green shield armor. You know what I mean? Like they did that in 2016. I think it was implemented well. Eternal, I think, tried to take it even further, and it just didn't work as well for me. That said, I didn't finish Eternal, so maybe I would pick up better if I continued it. I don't know. So.
I think the changes were interesting. I think they're different approaches, but I don't know if they're good or bad. Like Eternal clearly does some things better. Like the movement in that game is better. The combat gets it sort of goes a little bit farther than the first game in I think a good way. But I take the points. It's a little more. I think Doom is easier to like get into and uncomplicated. The story is really straightforward in a way that I appreciated. So I think they do a good job. I have a friend that's working on Dark Ages, so I'll be interested to see how it goes. But I hear good things.
This one has me pumped. Like just the aesthetic of it, the look of it, mixing Doom with the Dark Ages in theory, right, and the whole shield and kind of the look and feel of it is right up my alley. So
hell yeah.
When this previewed, I was in the theater at the Xbox show for this one when it previewed, and we were going nuts. So pumped.
Yeah, they were like, Veilguard, we'll do it ourselves, Dragon Age. Let's do it ourselves. Doom guy, throwing him in Dragon Age. Let's go.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. So, and I trust that team. That team knows what the hell they're doing. So
they really do.
We talked about
people.
Sorry.
Good team full of smart people, some of whom used to work at IGN. It's not really a big deal, but whatever.
Great engine.
Yeah, great engine, smart team, handsome.
We talked about Dying Light the Beast last week. We also talked about Elden Ring Night Rain last week, so I won't really touch on those too much. Obviously, for me personally, not really excited for Dying Light. Obviously, I'm excited for Elden Ring, but yeah, we'll see how both of those turn out.
I will play both.
Cool. Fable should be coming next year.
Whoa, really? Press X for doubt, guys. Where's that poll when you need it?
Well, we'll see. I mean, like I said, things will shift, right? But in theory, Fable releases next year. I like what I've seen of it so far. Playground is a very talented studio. Obviously, Fable is outside of what they've built before. But we know just from various sources and info, Playground has really staffed up. There's a lot of people working on this game, a lot of high-level talent working on this game, and have been for years now. So I think Fable is going to be a very good hit for Xbox. Hit in the sense critically. I don't know how well it'll do commercially, but I'm very, very excited for Fable.
Cool.
Well, I underestimated Xbox with Indiana Jones, which I like a lot more than I thought I would. But I have long thought Fable is a bad platform for storytelling. It's a strong brand for Xbox, but I don't think that the Fable universe is one that I've really ever enjoyed playing games in too much. So if Playground can make that better, awesome. If they get stuck making British people fart at each other, I'm not going to have that much fun. So I hope it's great.
What's wrong with British people farting at each other?
It's not the compelling.
We do that very well, Hogue. Come on.
Yeah. Look, Hogue, you don't have to be smart to laugh at a fart joke, but you got to be stupid not to,
I am not saying anything about anybody's intelligence at the fart jokes. I'm saying it's not a compelling gaming experience for me.
I think what you touch on is correct in the sense of Playground probably knows there's a couple things, right? Fable was we'll call it very big for Xbox back in the day, but that's a long time ago. Fable 3 didn't land as well as I think everyone thought it would at the time. And so I think they have to obviously it's a reboot to begin with, but I think to your point, they have to reboot what Fable is. So I think if they do this how I think they're doing it and how I would expect them to, it's all the modern sensibilities of a Western RPG, and everything that goes along with that storytelling while retaining some of that goofy humor that the series is known for. But to your point, I don't think they try to rebuild what Fable was. I think they make their own thing.
I think it'll be very different. I think it's going to surprise people. And I think Playground Games is one of the best game developers in the business. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on this one and say it's probably going to be pretty good, but who knows? You never know until the game's out. Hoag's aversion to the Fable series as a universe makes him a chicken chaser. In my eyes,
Chicken chaser.
In my eyes, you will always be a chicken chaser, Hoag.
I hope it's great. I realize I have something like total neutrality, if not a little bit of negativity towards the brand Fable. So I hope that they overcome that.
Spoken like a chicken chaser. Spoken like a classic chicken chaser.
Yeah, so we'll see. Excited though, and we'll see obviously if it is a 2025 game. We'll see. Next year we are supposed to get FBC Firebreak 2, which if you've forgotten what that is already, that is the multiplayer game from Remedy based in the Control universe, which Hoag said this has topped Expedition 33 as his most anticipated game because Remedy can do no wrong and he loves multiplayer Remedy.
I'm trying to think of some version of a whiteboard pitch that would be less attractive to me than let's take Control, but make it a multiplayer extraction shooter.
A new Suikoden game. You would hate that even more.
Konami, I would pay cash money for a brand new Suikoden.
Cash money.
Money.
That's one of those old phrases we don't use anymore, Hoag. Like I say that at times too. Like I'd pay cash money for that. I'm like, nobody says that anymore. We talked about this one when it got announced. This is definitely a wait and see for me. I can't tell. It feels like one of those games that the moment for it has passed, which sounds weird to say considering it hasn't released yet. But I don't really know. I didn't see anything there that excited me. I'll say that.
I expect them to announce Control 2 and for it to be releasing shortly after whenever Firebreak releases. Like they're going to ramp it up into Control 2. And Control 2 is going to be a very popular, very successful game for them.
I think Firebreak might announce a Control 2, but I really don't think it's going to be coming anytime soon, just based on the size of that studio and how long it takes them to make games.
They should be right on pace for Control 2 very soon.
I mean, they were working on Crossfire X's story for a while. I don't know.
Where are they?
I'm not imagining that the licensed stuff that they did was taking up all of their resources.
No,
so Alan Wake 2 is already
at that size of a team. I don't know. We'll see.
Planet Yavin says, "You're just gonna stand there like a lemon."
Like a lemon.
Easily my most anticipated game from Xbox, and probably maybe all up along with Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance only because I know that's coming soon. But my most anticipated game all up easily is Gears of War E-Day. Gears.
Question.
Yes.
Do you think when that game comes out, it's going to be abbreviated as Gears of War ED? And if so, are you ready for the jokes that I will be making on this
I didn't
show?
know it wasn't called Emergence Day. Is it called E-Day?
It's called E-Day. Yeah.
Therefore, it's Gears of War ED.
Because
we learn about Marcus when he's dealing with his personal problems.
Well, Marcus. Well, no, this is in the past, so Marcus will be fine. I mean, in Gear 6,
can't get it up, Dom. I can't.
Gear 6 might be Gears ED.
Marcus, take this.
Who is that supposed to be?
That's what's his name?
Dom? That was not Dom.
No, the other guy.
The other guy. There's several.
Why am I forgetting his name?
Anyway, Gears of War E-Day. Back to it. We asked about that when we were there, actually, in LA, Hoag. And the reason we were told is because E-Day is how it's referred to in the actual games and franchise. So they obviously are talking about Emergence Day, but when you hear them talk, usually they just say E-Day. So that's what it's known as in the franchise. Stop interrupting me. I'm going to mute you. You're muted. He's done. Gears of War E-Day is going to be the full experience. It is a prequel, as we know, on Emergence Day, and telling the history of that, which we've never gotten to see in a Gears game, but it is a full experience, meaning it's going to be a fully scoped campaign with a full multiplayer suite, probably Horde or some type of co-op mode like Xbox does with their major IP releases. So super pumped about this one, especially the multiplayer. I hope they nail the multiplayer out of the gate. Gears 5 multiplayer.
If they do multiplayer on this, are they going to pull it out separately and do it as Game Pass or free like they did with Halo?
I think they should. Yes. What I was going to say is that they have to nail this out of the gate. So Gears 5 has excellent multiplayer, but it took a while to get there. Gears 5 at launch, it really was shallow. It was not shallow. It was light on content. Yeah, bare bones. Thank you. And it took a while to get there. Now, like if you play Gears 5 now, like what they added to it is incredible. But Halo's same way. We talked about that at length with Halo Infinite, right? Fantastic foundation. It took them too long to get there. So I think it should be free to play multiplayer, but they gotta have it ready to go and to keep people engaged, because Gears of War is already a tough multiplayer to get into. It's very niche. Different. Yeah, and if you're going to retain that audience, there's going to be the hardcores like me that play it. But if you're going to pick up new players, you've got to be ready to do something to make that happen. So, anyway, sorry. Well, was it something serious you were going to ask, Travis, or was it just a joke?
I don't remember. I think it was probably a joke.
It wasn't serious then.
Guys, here's the thing about jokes. Timing is everything. You got to slip in there. You got to say something funny, and if the moment passes, you miss the opportunity for the bit.
It's over now.
Can I give you a compliment, Travis?
For the record, my Dom impression was flawless.
That was not Dom, and I think
he goes, Marcus, locusts. You guys don't remember that? He says that in the games.
I'd like to give Travis
remember. Yes, the voice you're doing.
No, I killed it.
No,
I killed it.
It's too late. The time has passed. No compliments for Travis.
Yeah, no. He doesn't need any compliments.
The compliment was going to be earlier in this show. I had said something like your joke wasn't landing or something along those lines. And you listened to it, you waited for a beat, and then you just proceeded with the rest of your joke. Yeah, and like that is the true stand-up comedian backbone. That's how you handle it. You did it great. And I wanted to give you a compliment on that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm really good at bombing. It's one of my specialties. Really. Yeah.
But you didn't respond to it at all. You just said, like let that hang and then been like, I'm just going to keep pressing on. And it's like, yeah, that's what you do.
The one thing that I want to ask you guys about, because I don't think you guys dabble in the space. Travis a little bit, Hogue definitely not. But the one thing you'll know what I'm going to say in a second. That wasn't meant as a bad thing.
No, I get it. You hate me.
But the suite that Xbox first party became known for, from Halo to Gears, etc., was they would have full campaign, and not like a short campaign, but a full campaign, full multiplayer, and a full co-op mode, right? Gears was Horde, Halo was Firefight, big multiplayer suite, big campaign. What Halo gets in trouble with their fan base is that because you set that expectation for many years that it's going to have all these fully featured suites, developing that in 2024 cross-platform, all the complexities of modern game development, create a problem, because to do that effectively, like the Call of Duties of the world who just launched campaign, zombies, and multiplayer, right? You need giant teams, tons and tons, several hundred people at a minimum. And most teams don't have that. So the reason I bring this up is, and a culp of bad cheer, sorry, I was looking at the username. He said, they said, all I need from Gears multiplayer is a fun Horde mode. And I bring that up because what happens is the community gets divided in expectations. So there's going to be part of the Gears community will want a very, very well told story of Emergence Day with Dom and Marcus and what that is like to play through, to show stuff from the books. I want that as well, but I also want, as I just said, a full multiplayer suite, which is going to be deep, well tuned, et cetera, and have a good kind of engagement to it. Then there's going to be other people who expect a fully featured Horde co-op PvE mode, which again is very tough to develop and keep tuned and kind of expand upon. Doing all of those things effectively is incredibly challenging for studios in 2024, right? And I feel the weight of that expectation is very tough. It's part of why Halo had trouble when it released. I can see the same thing happening with E-Day. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that, because I talk with friends about this quite a bit.
My feeling is that the campaign is the reason to go to the show, right? Like I understand.
But that's what I expect from you.
I know you expect that from me.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the game, right? When I think of Halo 2, primarily I'm thinking about the story and the Arbiter and everything else, not even the multiplayer experiences that I had playing Halo 2. I've long thought that the suite approach, the Activision approach as it is right now, is the wrong way to handle these releases, because you have exactly the problem that you've identified, Ains, which is that you have people coming to that particular show for different reasons, and you can't make everybody happy easily. So yeah, when I'm talking about Gears Emergence Day or E-Day, I'm talking about it as I want to see that preamble to the Gears that I remember in primarily 1 and 2. And I don't really care whether multiplayer works for me. And I understand that that's not something that's going to work for everybody else. So I don't expect them to just ditch it. But from my perspective, as someone that loves narrative and story and that in my video games, I've always thought that the resources spent on those things are wasted, right? And when those suites were really popular, you had games like, let's take BioShock, trying to match some of that in really stupid ways and literally wasting their resources trying to make multiplayer games that nobody wound up playing. Or the Resistance franchise had this happen too.
I actually liked the BioShock
2 multiplayer is underrated.
It's super underrated. Yeah,
but
it's really
it's
good.
fine. It's underrated, but it wasn't.
To Hoag's point, it didn't do well, but it was underrated.
Yeah, and I can accept that, but you guys, I would expect to have more of a amenability to that as a product offering as it was. The people that were buying
Creed
BioShock,
same thing.
we're not getting that. Assassin's Creed has fantastic multiplayer. That is also not the reason that you bought tickets to that show.
I started to be.
That's my favorite hide and seek in video games.
But here's the problem with those comparisons, Hoag. Not a problem, but here's a contrast to that. So those games, those multiplayers that you just mentioned, right? They're tacked on to the main experience, right? Halo and Gears, to lesser degrees, I'd say Halo more, but both are multiplayer is foundational to those IPs. There's pro leagues for Halo and Gears players. It's absolutely part of its core identity. Whereas something like BioShock and Assassin's Creed, it's not.
Yeah. I think part of normally I'm with you, Hoag, like focus on the stuff that you think you're going to do well. But for me, part of the benefit of being a AAA studio is that you can do these crazy big packages where there's multiple game modes and they do a lot of stuff. I think if you have that power, go for it. I also don't think that the resources that are working on narrative and mocap are the ones that are working on like tuning the sandbox in multiplayer. So if you have a big team, I don't think there's a lot of cannibalization happening between those two.
I think they're effective each other, right? Like the way that you control your character in single player, if you're going to have a suite that uses that, is going to affect how multiplayer plays, and then might also affect how single player plays if you need your cornering to be in a very specific fashion in order for multiplayer to work. And I think that they can negatively impact each other, just like taking Assassin's Creed in a different direction. I think Assassin's Creed Unity is the worst Assassin's Creed because they tried to make the entire map and level structure co-opable. And like that limits your ability to tell an interesting environmental story in single player if every hallway has to support 5 wide.
That example is sort of like them completely changing the core of how their games function, though, in the main solo mode. But like you can use that exact same franchise and say, well, the game where they added multiplayer, what was it, Brotherhood? Which I think it was one of the Assassin's Creed 2 games. They basically, you just said, hey, we're not going to change the formula that works. We're just going to add on this other thing. And that super worked in my book. Like that was like, so I think it just depends, right? Like some games only want to do one thing. They should do that. But if you're a big AAA studio and you can afford on your 700 person team to make like 3 game modes in your package, go for it.
But if you release 3 neither games Coalition nor 343 or Halo Studios now, neither of them are 700 person studios.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you release 3 games at once, one of them is going to be worst. Like that's just how it's going to be. So you can't match the same level of performance or effectiveness or popularity across all these brands, right? Like if I want to play Call of Duty and I want a great campaign, then it's great when something like Black Ops 6 comes out, but maybe I'm not getting the zombies experience I wanted out of that. And you've trained me as an audience to expect everything to be something that I like in that package. And I think that these game teams, as Ames points out, aren't as big as they used to be, aren't this kind of huge multi-thousand person endeavor that was the entirety of the Activision ecosystem, right? We talk about Activision, but they had High Moon, they had all these other companies, essentially
8 studios,
essentially stopped doing anything on their own in order to make Call of Duty. And so I would prefer to see games like Gears, games like Halo, essentially bifurcate their efforts and really focus on one particular thing that they're releasing at a time, because I think you're going to get better results that way.
I generally agree. I mean, that was kind of where I was going, is like I wouldn't even be mad if they had a E-Day release that was the campaign and maybe some co-op campaign, whatever, right, is in that package. But that they said that like the new Gears multiplayer, right, themed around E-Day or however you want to theme it, comes 6 months later as a free-to-play package, right, and it's going to launch separately. Like, I'd be okay with that. Kind of like with Halo Infinite, if you remember, they released the free-to-play
month
multiplayer early. Yeah,
Yep.
they launched it early. And it's like, just separate those things, because I think, exactly as Hogue said, it's just not anyone I've talked to, even some developers, right? And I'm sure, Travis, you've had these conversations too. The feasible creating that package that we got used to in the 360 era, give or take, right? Just can't be done today. The only team that's really doing it in that vein is, like we said, Call of Duty. And you're talking about thousands and thousands of people. And hell, even they failed at it for the past 3 years until this year.
They certainly had trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for people focusing on stuff. I do think part of the reason we keep AAA around is because they can make these big packages, and they're not always going to succeed. But I think Gears has a pretty good track record with doing this stuff.
I honestly never liked Gears multiplayer, so I'm the wrong person.
No, they have.
And the Horde, Horde mode's always been pretty good. So I don't know.
They have done well, yes. And Coalition, again, hugely talented studio. They're considered Unreal Engine experts. They've did fantastic things with Gears 5 over the past few years in terms of upgrading it and adding to the multiplayer, like I said. So I have all the confidence in the world in the game and the team. I just worry that if they try to do everything, they're going to be masters of none. And I guess we'll see.
Yeah. But I think that the campaign and the story, I really do think that's what most of the like zeitgeist thinking of a game's release is going to be focused around. Like, E-Day is going to be a success if the game is compelling and the graphics are awesome. And then if multiplayer is good, that's icing. But the reason you think E-Day was a good release is going to be because the story was told well, and the drama and gameplay in the single player campaign was compelling.
Battling ED, it's all a metaphor, dude. It's all a metaphor.
Guys, is there something you want to talk to us about offline?
No, I want to talk about it right now, guys.
As a newly married man.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on from that. So we'll flip over to the PlayStation side of the house with probably their largest expected release anyway of the year, and Ghost of Yotei. Coming from Sucker Punch, the follow-up to Tsushima, of course. Another one that I am hugely excited for. And I hope, obviously, goes without saying, I hope that this is a showcase for the Pro as well, seeing as the hardware is out now. I have to think it will be.
I'm really interested in hearing you're excited about this, because of the two things you've said you're excited about here, Expedition 33 and Ghost of Yotei, those are both kind of reflections of games or game concepts that I know that you don't like, JRPGs and Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm also excited about Yotei.
I liked Ghost of Tsushima. I just don't think it's as good as some people hold it up.
It's a little overrated, yeah.
I think Tsushima is fantastic, and it might be my favorite first-party Sony game in a while. So I'm excited about Yotei. Fair. I think Sucker Punch made an open world that was elegant in a way that maybe Ubisoft games are not. And I think that Yotei is a chance to make the Assassin's Creed 2 leap to be even better than their first crack at that particular apple. So, yeah.
But how woke is it?
I don't have any idea. I haven't played it, but I don't know.
I still swear if we made that YouTube series, we would be millionaires. We made a How Woke Is series of videos where
we would have added conflict and stupidity of like the world.
But think about
to make those millions.
Oh, wait, Hogue, counterpoint. Money. Let's get rich, guys.
I just can't be compelled enough by that.
By the way, audience, last week prior to the show, this is what Travis was convincing Hogue and I, is that we need to do a series of how woke games are just to make lots of money.
I was basically asking a question like, would they take for $1 million a month? Would they go full mask off grifter and do like just like content that would, call people cucks and stuff on stream? And I was seeing if anybody would do it. Ains considered it because he was like, I could just do it for a year and retire. Hogue was a hard no. I was a hard yes. Like, I would for sure do that. It'd be super fun.
I want to add clarity here. I said no. I said if it were guaranteed that you could make $1 million a month. You said $1 million a month. I said technically I could do that for a year and then retire, but
man, Travis has done this twice now. He did a signal message last week, and this week he's doing pre-show talk. There's a lot of trust issues that we have.
I know he's just throwing it all out there.
Look, you guys are my test audience. I'm like testing out with you, and I bring it to, I don't know. So full disclosure, I forgot that was pre-show. I thought we were talking about that on stream.
No, that was pre-show.
So anyway,
I think Yotai will be great.
I think it will too.
I like Sucker Punch a lot. I love Tsushima, and I think Yotai should be an awesome game.
And I think some of the complaints I had about Tsushima were that I didn't think the open world was as brilliant as people made it out to be. I thought it had that late PS4 generation Sony first party template-y feel. Some of the menus felt the same as their other games. The activities felt the same as the other games that PlayStation was doing. I feel like they're going to take that feedback to heart. And in the years they've been working on this, I think this is going to be a more interesting game, probably retaining the good things about Tsushima. The world building, the characters. I love those one-on-one samurai fights. Those were brilliant. I think it'll retain all that. So I genuinely, like, if I had to put money, I'd say this is going to be a better game than Tsushima, in my opinion.
I love it when teams get to make the sequel, because I do think that that's where the leap is in a lot of these game series, and I think this one would be a good choice to see that leap. Yeah,
agreed. We've already talked about, we doubt that this is releasing in 2025, but as of a couple weeks ago, they're saying it is Grand Theft Auto 6 in our cover story.
Nope.
So
I know. I'm not talking about this for 2025, Ains. No.
Okay. But anyway,
it would be huge. It would be the biggest game of the year. It might be the biggest game in history, but it's not coming out in 2025.
I think it's coming out
when it gets near release and it starts to build up and the hype starts to truly build, right? I want to do one of our SG bets, one of our Bitcast bets on how much money this game will make in a 72-hour launch window.
If they tell us that.
I was going to say,
they will.
I thought you were going to say how much money is this game going to make. I was like, I don't know that Season Gaming Bitcast is going to go that long. Because like GTA 5 is still making huge amounts of money.
It makes multiple billions per year still.
That's like me working at IGN.
Yeah, that's what we hear. It's from all the money the game developers pay you.
Yeah, they pay me for the scores. I'm a billionaire.
It's true.
That's why I do this show for free. It's really just about how rich
balance. You gotta have balance is important.
Yeah. This is more charity for me, really. That's why I'm wearing the hot top hat. I'm a Robert Barron, philanthropist.
GTA 6 is not coming out next year, folks. But if it does, you can put comments in these videos or on my Twitter telling me how wrong I was, and I will be happy to be wrong.
Speaking of,
it's not coming out next year.
We got yelled at last week in the Bitcast or the SG side of comments with someone telling us we're absolutely nuts. They were mad that we said Witcher 4 was not coming until 2028, 2029.
There are so many people online right now calling Witcher 4 a 2025 game. I'm like, are you folks insane? That teaser was the come work for us. We're making Witcher games teaser. It's not the coming soon teaser.
They did the announcement like a year ago, but yeah, I think it's so very far off.
It's very far off, yeah. But it was quite funny. I
would be surprised if that trailer was all they have done of the game.
No, they've been in full development in 2024, but I mean, you've got a big game to make. Greedfall 2.
Also not coming next year.
Well, technically, it's already playable in early access, right?
It is. I told you. We said this at the start. These games are listed as 2025. We know some will shift, but
I know. But I'm pointing.
No, that was more for Hogue. Like we know some of these games aren't going to release next year, but
so yeah, I think Greedfall 2 is already playable. I think it's very rough early access. If you go by the timeline of Baldur's Gate 3, which I think was in a similar position and similar model, then the game should probably come out next year at some point. Usually people get pretty peeved when their game is in early access for more than a year.
Baldur's Gate 3 was in early access for like 4 years.
Was it really? I thought it was 1 year.
No, it was like 4. I played Act 1 years and years ago.
Let's do a fact check on that. That sounds right. Let's check it.
I have no idea, so you guys just keep going.
He's going to Google it. He's Googling it with his good hand.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Grab my strong hand. Yeah.
I hate that, Travis. That is exactly as I'm holding
I
my
could
left.
tell.
hand.
I could tell the
People are
way you
saying he's
lean.
correct.
You lean your
People
good
saying
hand.
Hogue is correct.
When was it? Early access going to be 2025. I don't see people saying anything. Who's saying
Yeah, on Hogue's channel.
2021 or 2022 for first early access. Okay. I kind of remember people were playing like all of Act 1 like a year before or something, but I don't know. I don't play early access games usually.
So if I heard you correctly, sorry, I was typing a comment to chat, but you said that you played the Act 1 of Greedfall 2?
No, I said Act 1 of Baldur's Gate.
I played Act
years
1.
and years ago.
I played Act 1 of Greedfall 2. I previewed it that at GDC this year, and I did a preview on it, and it was extremely rough, and they were like, we're launching early access in like 3 months, and I was like, no way you're gonna meet that. And I think they ended up
they delayed it,
delaying it, but I think it's playable right now. I saw that it went early access, and I think it's probably in a pretty rough state, but I could honestly I think the game will probably come out in 2025.
Okay,
we shall see.
I've seen enough of it, and the game works and is running, and so it's really just about like expanding it and adding other areas and acts. But I saw enough of it to think it is coming out.
The first act of Baldur's Gate 3 released in early access on October 6th, 2020.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Because if I bought it at launch on Steam, so I can look when I bought it. It was years ago. Yeah.
What happened a year before it? I remember I can't remember.
There was like an early access for PlayStation that released early.
Was that it? Okay. Interesting. Anyway, I think Greedfall is probably going to be not in early access for 4 years. Not for least of which is I don't think the studio could endure 4 years of development in early access.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how much of a leash they have here in terms of because is it Plyon, right? That is who's the publisher on that one? Spider's developer, right? But Plyon,
Spider's developer, and I think they have a publishing deal with Plyon. That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay,
but anyway, we'll see.
That name is definitely pronounced Playon.
Playon. So I always say Plyon for some reason. Sorry. Being published by Nacon, actually.
Nacon.
So
there we
Nacon.
go.
Yeah, the game was released early access September. The game's set to be released in full in 2025. So we'll see. The next one is an interesting one. I know we've talked about Ken Levine plenty of times on this show, but Judas is, and I actually looked at the website for this just to double check this morning. So supposedly releasing next year. We've heard some rumblings around tough development at that studio. Is it Ghost Story Games?
Ghost Story, yeah.
Yeah, but they had some updated screenshots and stuff on the site, or maybe they're not updated, but they were new to me. But you can tell that this is his next BioShock, or trying to be his next BioShock. It looks very BioShock-ish. And literally
it's a shock game.
I think you mean System Shock. It's his next System Shock game.
System Shock, whatever you want to say.
If you want to start at the beginning, absolutely.
Yeah. Always
on the site, it says from the producer of BioShock.
Well, he didn't make System Shock.
That's the one that did well.
He didn't make System Shock.
I know, but
well, I mean, that's why you wouldn't say you're the producer of System Shock.
That's fair. Yeah, sure.
No, but I mean, the point is, when people think about that universe, they think of BioShock. That's the big one.
I think this game is going to be good.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really good too whenever it comes out. I hope it's 2025. I hope to play it sometime soon, but this is another one I don't trust when that game is coming. And
I think it's impossible to tell on this one, really. I mean, they hold their cards so close to their vest.
Fair.
They could be further along. They could be less far along than even they're suggesting. So I don't know when this game is coming out.
Newsflash: it's always impossible to tell.
I feel very comfortable saying Grand Theft Auto 6 is not coming out next year.
Oh, I thought you meant in quality. It's impossible to tell if it's going to be good.
Oh, no, I meant when it's releasing.
Okay,
and yes, it is possible to tell because different people will have different thresholds for what they're willing to release. Right, Cyberpunk?
Yeah. Well, that's funny. That's the comment I was typing a few minutes ago is, Witcher 4, if you just map out the time, right? Let's say, for example, it is 2027, 2028. You're now at next gen. Right, you're in PS6 and whatever next Xbox is. So the question kind of comes up again: does CD Projekt Red try to push Witcher 4 on Series X and PS5? like they
I don't
did with
think so.
Cyberpunk?
I think they learned their lesson there.
I hope so.
The little note on that trailer of being on an unannounced chipset suggests that they're already looking at the future.
Yeah, hope so. So we'll see on
chipset.
Judas. Do you have faith Judas is going to be good?
I do.
I am a little less effusive about Ken Levine's output than some, but I think this will be a good game.
I'm pumped for it. Yeah, I think
it'll be good, but who knows?
Yeah. One of the ones I'm excited for next year is Little Nightmares 3. As we've talked about before, Little Nightmares 3 is from a different development team. It's not Tarsier anymore. So this is directly from the team at Supermassive, who has done the movie-like games. So we'll see if they nail the vibe on this one. But I'm excited. I love Little Nightmares 1 and 2. So hopeful.
I know you do. I bought them after you told me how much you loved them, but I have not been able to play them more than a little bit. So I'm looking forward to it.
Don't like them?
I just popped in, said, "Oh, that's not what I was expecting," and popped out. Like, it's one of those where you just have to be in the right mood.
Did it get like a sixth of a play session? What are we talking about in play session increments?
Oh no, much less than that. It's like a tenth. It's like it checks to make sure the code works.
What is one play session for you? Because it seems to be a static unit of measurement for you. Yeah.
Like 2 hours?
2 hours. Okay, so half a play session you play for 1 hour. Okay, interesting. Very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Little Nightmares 1, especially. I mean, you can go through that whole game in 5-6 hours probably. It
wasn't anything against the game at all. It was one of those where I said I bought it because Zane said he loved them. I don't know what this game is. Popped in and said, nope, that's not what I'm feeling like right now. Popped out.
So this is actually a great question for the panel. Like, Hogue, you said a standard play session for you is 2 hours, which tells me that when you sit down to play games, you usually think like, I'm going to play games for 2 hours. Yeah. Ains, how long is a typical play session for you? Like when you sit down on the couch to play, what does your mind think in terms of like, oh, like a standard, I'll be playing until blank, what is your standard unit of measurement, like the expectation?
I don't know if I have one, and that's a true statement. My problem, and I posted about this week. You know what my problem is? And I don't know if you guys have this, but my normal day to day, right, with my career work and everything else is so structured. Like every 30 minutes is planned. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That when I do get free time, when I do get free time and I think, oh, I actually have a little free time to just sit and game, I'll start. And if I'm really into something, I'll play for a little while. But like my mind starts to tell me like, you've been sitting here too long. You need to go be doing something else. And I'll literally get up, even if I don't have anything to do, and I'll start looking for stuff to do. Like I can't mentally shut off fully, which sucks. But so that's a long-winded answer to say I don't really have one. Sometimes I'll sit down if I'm really into a game. Like I played indie for like 3 hours earlier this week. That's a long time for me in one session. Other times I'll put indie on or a game like that, a single player game I'll play for like 20, 30 minutes and then I'll go do something else. This is why I don't finish a lot of single player games.
My version of that is that I have my cell phone on the table next to me to light up if I get client communications or any other requests. And so I'm always 1 foot out the door when I'm playing. The only times when I leave my cell phone on a different floor of the house are like if I am really in need of that kind of focused game time or movie time or whatever else it might be. And it's very, very rare. So I'm always kind of at least half thinking about work or what I might otherwise have to do to change my brain state.
The key is to make games your work. And then guilt-free, you're making money, right? You're like,
I'm going to say that is not the key for me. I just participated in a spoiler cast recently. I've done some other kind of review things of TV shows and video games occasionally. And my experience with whatever media I'm enjoying changes so significantly if I'm keeping mental notes or more physical notes about what I'm doing and what I'm playing that I basically hate it. Like I hate that process. It takes me out of whatever enjoyment or relaxation I will get out of that. And so I am not a critic. Like that is not in my core. I can't do that. I lose the value of what it is that I'm otherwise.
I think I'm the opposite because if I'm not doing it for work, it feels indulgent. And I would probably be more like Ains, like getting up all the time and being like, well, I could be doing something else that's productive. But when I'm forced to play a game for review, it makes me switch over to my mind of, well, this is productivity. So therefore I don't have to feel bad for it. And then, you can just go in.
So having been in a lot of mental therapy this year, One of the things that I'm supposed to not use in my own brain is productivity as the rubric for what's important in my life. And that was one issue that I had coming out of Big Law and through the stroke and everything else, was that if I'm not working, if I'm not making money, if I'm not doing something actively, and importantly, from my perspective, if it's not causing me a certain amount of pain, if it's not difficult, then it's not productive. And I had to understand that rest and relaxation and recuperation, refreshment of whatever I'd already expended, was a kind of productivity.
I don't think
Don't let your brain get sick, Travis.
Yeah, I don't think I get.
Stroke.
I just don't think I get the same. Like for me, relaxation is stressful because I feel like, this unit has no function. And
I'm just telling you, I was there, and like it's taken me all year. It probably will take me longer to get to the place that says, no, going on a walk with your family is a kind of productivity. Taking this time to play Indiana Jones is a kind of productivity, because you are getting that energy back and being able to use it in a different way later in your day or tomorrow or later this week or what have you. And like, it's taken me for so long that I didn't even realize I was programmed this way coming out of my Big Law training. But like, that's been part of my therapy all year.
I think a lot of us are programmed that way.
Yeah.
It's just,
God bless it. I love it.
No. Especially especially if I've gotten older. It's like, no. I'm trying to untrain that way.
I don't know. I guess to me, it's not like stressful or draining to work. To me, it's like rejuvenating. I'm like, hell yeah.
And that might be your age. I can't tell you. The toughest thing I've had to work through outside of kind of mental therapy and thought process this year has been how tired and fatigued I get from what I consider in my head to be simple things. And having that kind of reflect later than I think. Like, oh, I have enough energy to do this Bitcast. I have enough energy to do all the stuff I did before this Bitcast. I was doing various bits of work because I woke up so early this morning, and I'll do a little bit after this Bitcast. And I know now that one of these days, Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to wake up and just be completely, nope, I don't got it today. Can't give what I would otherwise want to give. And that's my age. That's the stroke, whatever it is. But having to manage around that is necessary, but also a little bit off-putting. I would much rather be sitting in your seat, Travis, and be like, no, I can just charge through everything and I just do what I want to do. But at some point in time, that didn't work for me. I suspect it doesn't work for everybody at some point, probably at different stages of life. But like, that's the trickiest thing, is saying, no, I need to say, I could power through this. I could make a video right now, or I could take a beat and I could make cookies with my kids and play some more Infinity Nikki with them, which is not anything on me because I don't have the controller for that. And then maybe be better, ready, and able to do things tomorrow.
Well, I think that investment's a little different too, because you're investing in your family, right? So that,
I mean, family, but family is the easier one for me in my own head to justify, but that also has to be for you too, because you're no good to anybody, even yourself. If you get out of bed, you stand up and be like, I might topple over right now. That's not good. And like, that's extreme. And yes, I had a brain injury, but I suspect that it's just an accelerated version of what everybody goes through at some level.
Yeah.
At least that's what they've told me. They might be lying to my face. I don't know.
I listened to a TED talk like years ago about a lady who was talking about how stress is only bad for you if you think stress is bad for you. And there were like all these studies where like people who had negative associations with stress like die at a way higher frequency of people who like view stress as like a positive. And so that kind of really changed the way I thought about it. Now when I get stressed, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like your body reminding you that you got this.
Sounds like that was a corporate paid for talk.
No, it was really good. And now when I get stressed out, it like excites me. And other people get stressed out. Like my wife, she gets stressed out and you just see her like crumple. And I'm like the opposite. When I get stressed out, I'm like, it's go time, baby. Let's do this. And it like, I don't have the negative physical or mental response to it. I think
which I think is great. And I think as long as you can hold on to that, that's awesome. I will say that like another aspect of my personal therapy is that anxiety is a signal to you that you should listen to about the things that you care about. The things that stress you out, the things that cause you anxiousness, is because you really want to do a good job for your client, or you really want to be useful and valuable on that Bitcast or other show. and you have anxiety about that because you care so much about what it is that you want to do. And that's useful. Like you can take that signal and say, thanks, that's good to know that I care about this because I want to be doing things I care about. That's what I want to spend my time on. But yeah, I didn't mean to have a therapy session here in the middle of talking about the games of 2025.
That is therapy with the Bitcast.
Look, I asked, this is our new segment called Just Checking In with the Bitcast boys. All right. That's good times.
But yeah, it's certainly the case that just worrying, or especially as the therapists say, borrowing worry from the future is not useful. You only have what's in front of you right now. But there are things in stress and anxiety and concern that can be helpful and are good signals.
Yeah, and I mean, to Travis's point, that's kind of how I think that's why I am the way I am too, Travis. I've usually been really good about matching pressure, whether that's work, sports, whatever, competitive games, right? Like, that's where I live. Mm-hmm. So mentally, that's how I've always worked. But I think like now, especially as I'm in my mid 40s, my kids are grown up and, and just things are changing. It's just like, what is this all for? You know what I mean? Like you start to reevaluate the importance of certain things. And so
mid 40s is a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
Season to gaming, folks.
So even as busy as I am at work now, which is kind of absurd and some other things going on, there's definitely that mental consideration of just like, this is a means to an end. I'm certainly not going to be doing this long term, because it's just, yeah.
It might also just depend how much you love what you do, right? That is a factor.
Sure, that's
if it's draining to do your job because you don't love it, then yeah, you're probably not going to last.
And then lastly, the other thing I would say, going back to the initial question before we got on to BetterHelp.
Sorry.
No. I think it's good conversation, but I think, and I'm sure plenty of the audience listening or watching can relate in some way, give or take. But I was going to say, as you guys know, the other thing to your initial question, Travis, is that when I have time at night, which is when I have the most free time to play, I play multiplayer. So like those gaming
what are your
sessions,
blocks?
Yeah. What am I? What?
What's standard unit? Like a block of
Oh, so those, I usually start 9:30, 10ish and play to 1 or so, 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. Okay. That's pretty good. I would say I'm probably somewhere around there, like standard unit of measurement. Like if I'm time to work on a review, it's like at least 4 hours because I think if you play it in like anything less, you kind of don't really get a good feel.
Reviews are different for me.
Yeah. I bet you go hard. Like,
yeah. Then I tell my wife,
Tom thinks I'm insane because he'll be like, "Hey, here's a review. It's 30 hours," and I'll be like, "All right, cool. That's like 2 play sessions. Let's go." And I go like, "Oh, it's super hard," but that's time permitting.
No, the spoiler cast that almost killed me was Veilguard. That game just kept going. I'm sorry, Ains?
How long did you guys go for? I didn't see it.
On the spoiler cast?
Yeah.
I think we talked about Veilguard for 3 or 4 hours.
Jesus.
Okay. That's a long time.
I don't have that much to say about Veilguard.
Well, there were 4 of us.
Okay.
Yeah. But all right, back to your regularly scheduled game chatter. Where were we? We were on. I put this one on here just because I know some people really liked it. The first one I wanted to play on and I never did was Lost in Random. So they're making a second one called The Eternal Die. Yeah. Looks cool. Just threw that on there. That's supposed to come out next year. And then another one that Hogue was slandering prior to the show was Suikoden, which is kind of weird because he usually likes JRPGs. But Lunar Remastered Collection.
You take that out of your mouth, Ains. I love Lunar so much.
No, you hate it, dude.
Oh, now listen to him change his tone now, Travis, because we're live.
He's a whole different person in the pre-show. It's like
I tell you what,
kind of crazy.
I tell you what,
he has his hat backwards during the pre-show. He's doing a lot of this, and then he turns it back normally for the regular show. It's really weird.
That's me. I love Lunar. If you guys haven't played Lunar or gotten to experience the Lunar series and like JRPGs at all, you are going to be in for a treat when this game comes out because Lunar is awesome.
Very popular series, especially back in the PS1 days, right?
I played the original Lunar on the Sega CD.
Nice. That's a good shit. God, I wonder how much that's worth nowadays. I dread the thing. You still have it?
Well, I'd have to check my parents' basement, but maybe.
By the way, The Eternal Die sounds like a really poorly translated Dark Souls game.
It does, yeah, it does. But yeah, anyway, that should be really cool. Lunar classic JRPG series, obviously.
Lunar and Suikoden. Let's go.
Both,
Two
yeah.
least favorite games.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the end yet. We're East as well next year. So
East is just a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean,
we got the new
remaster
East
collection
this year.
Yeah. So
well, we got the new year, but they also announced a remake of that game. So Falcom is interesting. And I didn't see on this list, you don't have the Trails remake.
Yeah. He's also missing Hades 2, The Altars. There's some
It's funny. It's almost like you guys have access to this list.
You
give it to us in the morning, like I have like 20 minutes notice to read the.
We've been talking for 2.5 hours almost.
Like, yeah, but what am I gonna?
But if I start typing, Travis is going to point out my leaning again as I lean on my left arm.
He leans on his left arm to write with his right hand, and every time I do it, my screen shakes because I'm on this insane setup. And then you'll be like, "Travis, why aren't you reading the comment?" And I'll be like, "I'm trying to go over the run of show," and then I just start crying, and then you make fun of me and hit me.
I can see this all happening.
This is all 100% true.
Haynes is really
and with that. We're moving on to, we just talked about this last week, so I'm going to say about Mafia, the Old Country is, as of right now, according to Hangar 13, coming out next year.
I think
we'll see if that happens.
I think it will.
So it looks great. Super excited about it. And I like the fact that they've called out that they're focusing on the story and narrative. And can't wait for that one.
It's what the Mafia series was good at, including 3. Probably the most underrated series in gaming, in my opinion. I love Mafia so much. And like Emergence Day, the Old Country is a great idea for this series. So let's go.
Has an equal amount of ED.
Mafia Emergence Day. Mouse PI for Hire. I put this one on here just because it looks hilarious and I'm excited about it. So that one's coming out finally. They've been showing that one for years. So I hope it's good and well tuned when it comes out.
It's like a Cuphead, huh?
Cuphead's a 2D challenging platformer, though. This is just a 3D shooter where you're black and white.
I just like saying, yes, it's
taking
like Cuphead.
Forever.
It is taking forever. Mouse has been announced
to come out. Yes,
yeah. I mean, like in the amount of times that we've seen it, and it's like it kind of is Cupheading a little bit.
Yep. We got Outer Worlds 2, which we talked about last week as well.
I started up Outer Worlds again to try to get into that series again. This will be my 5th time.
How many play sessions did it get through?
I have played Outer Worlds 2 for maybe
1.34.
I played Outer Worlds 1 for maybe 3 hours this last week. I was trying to get back into 2 games that I wanted to get into off the Game Awards. One was the Outer Worlds, one was Black Myth Wukong. So
Black Myth, I don't think is your type of game.
Yeah,
it's not my type of game, but I'm trying because I want to see more of it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Destin Legary was trying to get that game of the year. He's a big advocate for it.
It's very good, but you have to get through it. It's got a ton of secrets. I think it's something like nearly half the bosses in the whole game are secrets. So it's got a ton of hidden things in the game and stuff you can unlock. It's very good. But
I don't know how often you or how recently you've played it. They added a map. I don't know when they did that. So that was cool.
It's been a few months, but I know my friend I was going to ask you, my question was going to be where you're playing it, because my friend who was playing on PS5 said performance is not great.
It is vastly improved on PlayStation since when I originally played it, which
since launch. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Vastly improved.
And I know they did an update for the Pro as well, but I'm playing on PC, so I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't know what their anti-aliasing blur solution was when it first came out, but it was very kind of swampy feeling and delayed. And now it doesn't feel that way. It feels much better. I'm not technical enough to tell you why, but
I'm gonna start using that in my reviews and be like, it looks a little swampy.
It's a little swampy. Yeah,
a little swampy graphics. Everybody knows that well-known turn of phrase.
We Get Replaced should finally be releasing next year. I talked about this one after Summer Game Fest. It was there. It was playable. People really enjoyed it. So I'm pretty confident saying this will finally release in 2025. If you've seen this game, you know kind of what to expect. If this kind of noir, pixel bit look, it
looks amazing. Visually.
In motion, it really is beautiful. I actually took a video off screen of it to share with you guys, and I got the tap on the shoulder of you can't do that because they're not sharing it. But it looks in person as good as you see in the videos. Yeah.
You have a unique opportunity, developers, to do something hilarious and replace your game at the last minute. Like you buy it and it was like, wait, this is just Secret of Monkey Island. This isn't. They replaced it, and then it just says replaced.
Isn't that the joke that Abandoned already did?
Oh, Abandoned Project, yeah. But they did Abandon. They're replacing. It's a little bit.
It's in the fine print. Like you'll just get this purchase will be replaced by some other game.
Yeah, some other game that we have a deal with. That'd be goated.
What's funny about this name replaced, and I love how this game looks. I'm excited about this release. Is I'm currently playing a game called Redacted, which is a kind of roguelike dungeon crawl thing from Craftin in the Callisto Protocol universe. But I'm definitely going to get these mixed up in my head. Redacted and Replaced are too close.
Yeah. We get Slay the Spire 2. We talked about last week as well.
We did.
So that'll obviously that'll be a big one because Slay the Spire is very, very highly regarded and beloved. So no doubt that'll be a big hit. South of Midnight, we talked about several weeks ago now. Travis got to check that one out, of course. So
cool game.
This is my number one game under Xbox. I picked games to be excited about, to talk about today. And Xbox has South of Midnight as the number one.
Love it.
And also last place game under my Xbox titling. So
that's the only game from Xbox you're excited about.
It is.
Not Fable, not Avowed, not Gears, none of those.
ED hits a little close to home.
Here's the deal. Emergence Day, Avowed, these are all games that I will enjoy. I will undoubtedly play them. I have Game Pass. South of Midnight is the only one that actually I'm excited about.
It's a good choice.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be good.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys watched the documentary?
I did. Very, very cool. That was
very cool,
fun
right?
Watch.
Yeah.
I watched the new clip that they released of the giant alligator on Twitter. That was very exciting.
His name is Two-Toe Tom. All right.
His name is Two-Toed Tom, but I didn't want to just say Two-Toed Tom on this Bitcast.
Well,
and have chat be like, "What? No, it's a giant alligator in the swamps of like Louisiana," and he looks great.
His Wikipedia page, real mythical creature.
Real mythical creature, folks. You heard the phrase first here on the Bitcast.
Right.
Yeah, it's all based in actual kind of. They said in the documentary what they were based on, like it's stories from that region, right? That are pretty well known. Yeah,
it's South lore.
Specifically folklore and cryptids from
cryptids.
Deep South. It. Yeah.
Yes. Couldn't think of the word. Yeah, it looks great. Pumped for that one. We'll see when we get an actual release date for it. Towerborn is another one I've talked about. I did a preview of. This is one that's been in development for a while. They've had multiple preview and early access sessions. If Towerborn, if you're not familiar for some reason, this is one that's kind of like your side-scrolling co-op action looter. You know, your Castle Crasher style, but a little more serious type game. Maybe your what's the one? Dragon's Crown. Kind of, similar to those types of games. So feels like it's going to be pretty good. It needed some more work when I played it, but I am excited about it. I hope it's going to be good.
Hell yeah.
A couple others to touch on. So Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers. This is another one that Xbox promoted.
What? Say Wu-Tang?
You better protect your neck. Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers coming out supposedly next year. Souls-like. Is this? I think it's Chinese. This game is it Chinese or Japanese? This one I don't remember. But anyway, I think it looks good.
Sounds Chinese to me, but I cannot pretend to be an expert.
Let Hook check with his right hand.
Looks good. Xbox, I think, is just helping with the marketing for this one. But I think it's coming to Game Pass as well, so you'll be able to check that out. And then East Memoir, and I'll let you talk about this one, Hogue, because I know nothing about it, but I saw it on the list and it's East, so I put it on here for you. The Oath in Felghana.
It's pronounced Memoir.
So Oath in Felghana is an existing East game. This is a remake, remaster kind of setup. For those that didn't see this last week, Falcom had a big blowout of all of the things that they are bringing in 2025. And I love Falcom. We don't talk about it enough here or anywhere else, frankly. It's just one of those game companies that just cranks out great games that we don't talk about, like the Trail series, like East. And they are bringing the Trails 1 remake, Trails in the Sky 1 remake to like everywhere globally in the fall of next year. And Trails in the Sky, the original Legend of Heroes game, is the start of one of the best realized, best world-built RPGs that all connect in gaming history, and bringing it to a kind of modern sensibility and audience in 3D rather than like the 2D, 3D like sprites on a 3D background that you might most associate with the PlayStation and Vita, is going to be a big moment for JRPGs. That comes out in the fall. They're remastering an Ys. They are remaking like a Super Ys 10, much like Atlas often does with their Persona games, or what I would expect will come with Metaphor at some point. And so that's a little bit of a weird bit of news because Ys 10's been out in the East much longer than it's been out in the West. And so it just came out here, and then they just announced that they're going to do a super version with more content, etc.
Yeah.
So that's not the greatest news.
That's kind of normal in the JRPG world, though.
East in the
Persona
East
does it every game. I would not be surprised if there was Metaphor Super Deluxe next year.
I believe you called it Analogy Edition when we first talked about
Analogy Edition. Thank you. Yeah.
Which I like. It's a good
that
joke.
was a good joke. Thank you. Yeah, good.
It is. It is a good joke. But I love Falcom. I love Ys. Oath and Felghana is like an interesting part of Ys and their timeline, because Ys makes up an action adventure RPG series, but it went through basically 3 phases of like how the game operates, and Oath of Felghana is not the current phase. So it'll be interesting to see it brought up to some kind of modern sensibilities.
And if you're confused about the Ys game series and you aren't sure if you can join in, it is basically an anthology game where you're reading chapters from the journal of this famous sailor, pirate, adventurer, explorer.
He's definitely an adventurer.
And so you can play every game self-contained, I think. It's
yes.
pretty, yeah.
The Ys games start out with Ys 1 and 2, which released back in the days of like the TurboGrafx 16.
And shout out.
Yeah, no, I love the TurboGrafx, and I love Ys from back then. And the series all features the same main character in a kind of fictionalized JRPG version of Europe, for the most part, including like country names that almost sound like the names that you might recognize. They face off against the Roman Empire, for instance, but it's ROMUN, and like take that and apply it to all the countries that you might otherwise recognize. And you fight mythological beasties, and you have issues with various gods as you do in a JRPG, but always starring the red-haired adventurer Adol Kristen. And yes, in the modern Ys games, they start out with a quote from his journals as if you're reading them and looking back into the past. And then you just kind of figure out where in the timeline you are. So like Ys 10 takes place before Ys 8, as a for instance. And the whole
kind of
series...
like how Fast and Furious, 3 takes place after 6 and 7,
I honestly didn't know that.
But Tokyo Drift takes place in between 6 and 7. Everybody knows that. Come on, Ho.
Honestly, I've only watched the first 3, Travis.
Oh boy,
that's a lot of pain.
We need to fix you. I see that explains why you're so sad. Like, I think I could fix you if I could.
Am I so sad?
If I could just get 18 hours to meditate.
Wait, I need to go back a step. Am I so sad?
I just, some of the things you say, your opinions, I'm like, he doesn't have a lot of joy, and I think I can fix you.
The other thing that people need to know about Ys is that if you're looking it up online, the spelling is Y-S.
Yes.
And I pronounce it ease.
It depends on like where you picked up the series, because different people with different like voice coaches pronounced it differently across the first at least like 10 years.
Yeah.
But yes, it's ancient Ys vanished. So it's like, it's a bit like Ys.
Time, we're not talking about Fast and Furious, so we're definitely not doing that. There's no
Christy Fletcher says she's on my side and loves Fast and Furious. Sounds like a smart lady.
Christy, I love you, but no, we can't.
I got no problems with Fast and Furious. I just don't love them like Travis does.
Well,
by the way, while you were talking, Hogue, I looked up Lunar on Sega CD, and Eternal Blue goes for about $300, and Silver Star goes for about $200 to $300.
Oh my god! Wait, was there a game where there were 2 discs in that series?
Well, the Working Designs remasters on the PlayStation, I think, were 2 discs.
I think that's what I played.
I was going to say there's a 4-disc one on PlayStation 1, the Lunar Eternal.
Maybe that's what it was. I remember somebody I knew had like all the discs, and I was like, "This looks sick," and I think I played through that whole thing. It was really cool.
Lunar is great. It is a little bit tropey, for those of you that haven't like seen it or heard of it before, and if you like anime, you'll recognize some of the things it does. But Lunar is perhaps my favorite of the kind of young adventurer boy has to go traipse across the world to save his
What?
love.
They've
By the
never
way-
done that.
By the way, I
In a
love the word
JRPG?
trophy.
But like Lunar and like Lufia and that era of games are very early in the tropes creation.
Yes, they are. Yeah, that's fair.
I love the
And,
word trophy, by the way.
And it's
Sounds
been
like a
30
cartoon
years, and we're
character.
still doing the same thing. So,
I don't think metaphor is the same thing as Lunar, for the record.
They're pretty
No.
different.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just generalities.
Speaking of
Anyway,
which, Metaphor won Game of the Year in IGN's. Game
I
of the Year.
saw that.
Yeah,
A very intelligent selection from IGN.
cool. Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job this year. Funny
Not
enough,
my game of the year, but a good
Yeah.
choice.
wasn't my vote
Nice.
either, but it was good.
what did you vote for? Did you vote on Game of the Year?
Infinite Wealth. Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if
Okay.
I voted in the Jeff Keighley Game Awards, but not in the IGN? Like just, the guy who reviewed the most games this year, you don't have a say.
For the record, Travis, Infinite Wealth was my number 2 game of the year, and it was number 1 for the bulk of the year's running time. It lost its place
I
about
gotta
a
get
month
back
before
to
the
it.
vote.
Outlaws.
get
huh?
back to it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Obviously, there's many more games. Some of those will move. There's other games coming out. There's games we don't know about yet. Blah blah blah. But there's a kind of overlook of what you can expect in 2025 from a game perspective.
Overlook. Love it.
Overlook, the Overwatch sequel.
Oh,
But
really?
in terms of the big three, we'll just touch on this real quick because we talked about Nintendo recently. We know the Switch 2 is coming, right? It's imminent, if you will. I wanted to ask you guys today, do you want to do a bet on the Switch 2 release date and price?
I know what I think the price will be. I don't know that the release
think
date
that's
seems
that
a little bit
interesting.
ephemeral.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that interesting. Are any of these interesting? It's just for fun.
I don't think it's that interesting a bet. Like there's not really like a strategy. It's kind of just like pulling out of a hat, right?
I love it when Ains is a little bit like, I don't know why anybody listens to this show, Travis.
But I mean, like, are they all interesting? Or picking
Like
our video
there's,
game
like,
award?
Like the video game awards is interesting because like we all have opinions on the games and we're kind of like, jockey. But this, it's like you could kind of just guess randomly and he might be right or wrong. Like there's no education around it, It's just like,
Was there education on the game awards? Is that what you're saying?
I like to think that there were some education. We were just, we were wrong about how it shook out, but
All right. So screw the bet is what I heard from you guys. F you both.
Kinda.
Moving on. Moving on. So what do you want to, I mean, is there anything not obvious or that we haven't talked about you want to see out of Nintendo?
I'm looking forward to better Joy-Cons and better graphics. I would really like to see those better graphics applied to their existing library in some fashion. Now that we know that it's backward compatible, that's great, Nintendo. That's the first step. The second step is using the extra power to somehow benefit things like Link's Awakening. And that's what I would like to see out of the Switch 2.
I want to see better games and worse graphics. I want them to go back.
That's what Nintendo specializes in.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
actually their motto. Better games, worse graphics.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I want what's on the tin, Hogue. I don't want them to change. Don't change my Nintendo. Don't you change.
Well, while you're on the tin, bring back Labo. I want to make more things with cardboard.
No.
I want to buy that paint that does what it says on the tin. It was paint, right?
Guys,
It
he's
was
off
not
track
paint.
now.
Wait, it wasn't paint?
No,
No, it was like wood sealant.
it was varnish or something.
God
yeah.
damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I want to see a new Mario 3D platformer. I should suspect we will get one. The rumor is Mario Kart 9 for launch, but
I don't think that sells it. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. The very first thing under Nintendo for me is Mario 3D on Switch 2. Like that's what should launch the platform.
I want Pokemon. I want them to do that 3D Pokemon game, but I want it to like actually look and function better than what was it? Legends? Arceus?
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 Arceus is great. I mean, Scarlet and Violet had certain issues with the way that it runs. So those are the kinds of things I'd like to see like to give more power.
Yeah, I just want like a more like performant Pokemon. I think that's top of my list.
If the Switch 2 can look remotely like current gen, then it's going to be the biggest winner in like a long time in video games. Like just even the broad ballpark of something comparable to what you could play on the bigger systems is going to be such a huge improvement over what Nintendo Switch offers right now. And still having the Nintendo development pedigree, it's going to be a fantastic success. But it needs to hit something like that, something that looks like a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of wild, actually, that, you know, when the Switch launched, what year did it launch again? Why am I forgetting? 2017?
Yeah, what is it? 7 years? 8? Yeah.
2017
8 years.
when it came out, yeah.
Yeah, 2017. So 8 years since launch, and it wasn't even powerful when it launched. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to think that
Spoiler alert, this isn't going to be powerful when it launches.
Yeah, but to Hoag's point, right, all it really needs to do is kind of catch up a lot, but it's going to have the same problem.
I said PlayStation 4, not 5 Pro, not X.
I would think it would be like a 4.5, right? Like, it should be between last gen and current gen, probably.
For $299 though?
It's not going to be $299.
They're going to target $299.
They are not. They're not going to come in anywhere near.
You could have bet on this, but no, that's out the damn window now.
I'll bet.
I like Ingrid in a Santa hat.
I'll bet on
the bet's gone. It's over.
I'll bet on them never going above $299.
Oh, I mean, that's easy. Give me the over. I'll take it. I win.
No bets allowed. We are a non-betting show. It's over. Sorry. So really, you think they're not going over $299, and you think they're definitely going over $299?
100%. I would be willing to bet my considerable fortune on it going over $299. You will be very disappointed at how considerable that is.
As collateral, I will offer this cane.
I have a cane somewhere.
I think I'm probably with Hoag. I think they go $399. And the reason why, let me say the reason, and you can tell me if you disagree. First of all, the Switch and Switch OLED are still up around that price, right? Around the $250, $299 range, right? Like, isn't a Switch OLED right now like $300 or $350?
Yes.
So there's that. They're not going to price this.
A Switch has never been over 300, right? They've always.
Yes, it has.
The OLED was 350 right now.
Yeah, it's right now. It's 350.
But we know that this new console is not OLED.
No, but OLED's like dollars. Like
my honest bet, if I were betting on this, is going to be $5. And yes, drop $1 for the optics, but it's going to be $500.
Really? You think it's going to be $499? Nintendo in 2025 is going to release $400.
See, all three of us have different ideas. It's almost like
I think the price is better. My problem was mostly with the release date. The release date doesn't make any sense to me. But the price, I'll bet on that. I'll bet on price.
I say $399,
and I'll take $499.
Then I will take $350.
You took $249.
No. You already said you're not going over $299. You're done.
Called sharking, and I misled you. Now it's $349.
No, you're $299.
You misled yourself right into the poorhouse.
So $299, $399, $499. The reason I don't think they go $499.
My bet for me. That's crazy.
You already bet it. You were done.
I didn't. We didn't lock it in.
You locked it in.
When I said $299, we were not betting yet.
You said a sentence. I would bet on $299. You said that sentence.
Yes. And notice he only changed it after we pointed out that the current OLED is $349, and he's like, "Wait, I better raise it."
But this, I'm not crazy that the Switch launched at $299, right?
The normal Switch launched at $299. Yes.
All right. I think I'm going to be closer than you guys are.
It's gonna be $399. The reason I don't think they go as high as you, Hoag, is because just Nintendo. I don't think Nintendo goes $500.
Okay, if they go $349, I win, right?
No, well, no, you and I would tie.
Technically, you would be.
Go ahead and work that out. I'll wait for you.
One, you would be one closer, right?
I'm gonna wait.
You're both on the 99s. 49 is going to be equidistant.
I just think
correct. we tie, like I said.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, who wins though? Is it Price or Right rules? No, you went over.
No, don't. You see this guy, Hoag? You see what he's trying to do over here? You see this?
You should have been a lawyer, Travis.
Just saying.
Anyway, what do you think, chat? We still have a poll up around pressing X, by the way, which. 52 votes. Press X adjacent is still winning, but only by a small margin, so that could be shifted.
What's winning second place? A Doubt?
They're tied. Doubt and Respects are tied. So,
It's gonna be
That's such a funny
$4.99.
sentence. Dallas
Nintendo has all these people invested in the Switch ecosystem. Their most popular system, one of the most popular video game systems ever made. They have the Pro sitting out there at $700. They've got all sorts of economic turmoil to blame anybody that complains too much on this particular price point.
that's all fair.
And it gives them space to reduce it if they need to, if it's not selling. So $4.99 is my number. It also would allow them to be a little bit more technological, not in chipset, but in things like we're hearing from rumors about like magnetic Joy-Cons and things like that, than you might otherwise expect. So $4.99 is my
Magnets
number.
is upping the game for Nintendo. They're really
Hey.
they're investing heavily.
Hey, man.
I get your point. Hall effect joysticks might have been a better example, but yes, I get your point. So I think they go, as I said, $399. They reduced the current Switch, obviously in parallel, right, to $199 and $250 or something like that. $399, and they accessorize the crap out of it, right? So you're gonna have the MK9, if the rumor holds true, the MK9 limited edition with the game that may be $450 for the bundle. You're gonna have extra Joy-Cons you can buy. You can buy whatever else cardboard that Nintendo's gonna sell. There'll be plenty of extra things. Say it again.
Who wins if there's multiple SKUs like the Steam Deck launch, where there are 3 different versions based on how much memory
We talked about that last week. There's supposed to be 3 versions of the SKU.
Okay, so who wins?
I don't know what you mean. Who wins?
If there's 3 prices, who wins the price?
Well, no, the whatever the price of the core console is going to be.
Oh, okay. So I'm liking my bet a lot more now.
Good.
So the lowest common denominator is the winner. That's what you're saying. The lowest price of the SKUs.
You convince yourself however you need to feel better about your $2.99 bet.
All I'm saying, I'm boyo. Boyo.
He's tapping the camera. All right.
The only part about that I disagree with at all is that
Yes.
Switch 2 is going to completely cannibalize the Switch 1 market. So I don't think it can be as simple like $100 down. I think it's going to be something like Nintendo fully kind of writing off the Switch inventory when the 2 comes out. It's one of the reasons they're holding back on any of the announcements here. So
I agree.
But would in that argument also then push it towards a lower price?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to have to compete with the Switch.
There's no way Nintendo stops making the Switch and says our only other option is a $500 console. There's no way now.
And I disagree with the economics there. I think if you know that the Switch 1 is going to be completely subsumed by the Switch 2, you could have a much bigger separation in the pricing and justify 2 essential market differentiators.
Yes.
Yeah.
Say the $500 is for the...
That's assuming that the Switch is still going to have a role, though.
That's why I'm saying I thought you just said that they were going to basically abandon the Switch when the Switch 2 comes out.
I think they are. I think in terms of their current development and what they're aiming their marketing at, it's going to be completely subsumed by the Switch 2. But if you're going to have a Switch out there, as you suggest, you're going to market it to essentially the less inclined to video game / the poorer demographic.
I just want to say this one more time. Last time we bet on a price of a release, it was for the PS5 Pro. I was on the low end at $999 and I nailed it. So I'm going to let's not be as cocky as we were. All right. I was derided for saying that it was going to be $999.
I will remain exactly as cocky as I've always been. And if you're right, that's great.
I feel like you should have learned some humility from that experience, Hope. That's what I feel.
Man, I had brain surgery and didn't learn humility.
I don't know. Does brain surgery teach your brain things? Is that what they do it for? They're putting info in there, stuff in.
That was a joke I had with my wife. Thank you for not just changing my brain to always want to do laundry or whatever.
Or maybe she did change your brain and you just don't remember what your old brain was like.
It's possible.
This is a Philip K. Dick novel we're in now.
You know what? It's all that way. It's a turtles all the way down for me, Travis.
Do you like Philip K. Dick? Are you into PKD?
I like the adaptations. I can't actually say I've read much of his short stories.
Oh, dude, you got to read the originals. I'm a total dickhead.
You knew that.
Moving on. PlayStation.
That's
that's Nintendo. PlayStation. So probably what we know the least. Maybe I don't know if you think the Pro just came out, right? So there's their hardware. They are apparently working on another portable device. There's no way that comes next year. We know of Ghost of Yotei, we just talked about. Or is it Yotei or Yotai? I don't really know.
I think it's
Yotai. Yotai.
Yotai. Okay.
EI is I. It makes the I noise in Japanese. I know. Again, I know this because Legend of Five Rings tabletop RPG. What's up?
Thank you. Ghost of
I
Yotai.
only know my diphthongs in Latin. Sorry.
So that looks good. By the way, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is Chinese. Just to
Wu Tang. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
So what else out of PlayStation? Like, do we finally see what more their first party is working on? Does Wolverine make an appearance late in the year? Do you think that's possible? Like, I feels like Wolverine's next on deck after Ghost.
I think Wolverine's coming out next year. What I would like to see Sony do is have some kind of come to Jesus about live service bucks. Like, I don't think fair games is the right direction for them to go. I think that there needs to be a focus on single player, what they're good at. I would love to see what Housemarque is working on. I've looked at this generation. I've looked at the games I played, and I think Returnal is probably my favorite of the Sony first party.
It's a good choice. That is a good
releases
choice,
for PlayStation 5. So I would love to see what Housemarque is doing next.
Oh, big time. I cannot wait for whatever they follow Returnal up with. Returnal is
call
amazing.
it Returnal.
By the way, you guys are being corrected. I've got multiple people in the chat saying it's Yotei, and that EI in Japanese is a long A sound.
Let me see.
I didn't say anything about Japanese pronunciation because I would not claim to, but I thought it was Yotai.
Actually, so AI in like samurai makes the I noise, so that might be right. I would need to go. I have a
okay. Ray Sard says she looked it up and it's Yotei.
Yotei. Okay, interesting.
Okay. Just for our future reference, I'm sure we'll mess it up 20 more
times.
EI
is Tay. AI is
okay.
I.
So the lead in that game is like Taylor Swift. So it's like Yotei. Got it. It's gonna stay now.
And then Kami, if it's is the I alone makes an E sound. I'm learning. I have a grid for this, guys. I've got it written down.
Ghost of Yotei. You got it here first, folks. Take it to the bank.
Please no. But anyway, continue your thought around Housemarque and what you're saying.
That's all I was saying is that Housemarque made my favorite game of this generation for Sony, and whatever they're making next is what I'm most excited about coming from Sony. I would love to say Wolverine, but one, I like the Wolverine character less than Spider-Man. Two, I basically hated Spider-Man 2 after loving Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. So I don't have as much faith in Insomniac as I should right this moment. But Insomniac, its batting average for me is something like 90%. So I'm still looking forward to Wolverine, even though I didn't like Spider-Man 2.
And I'm a little bit of the reverse. I like Wolverine as a character better than Spider-Man. So I'm hoping, to your point, because I didn't play Spider-Man 2, and I don't know of the narrative issues there. So I'm hoping that Wolverine not only tells a good story, but from what they've talked about, they are going more Wolverine, which is darker with it, right? More violent, aggressive, which it should be. I hope they don't shy away from that to make it a big net game. You know what I mean? It has to be a big net game, but I think you know what I mean. Like, I hope they actually go into what a mature Wolverine would look like.
Well, the trick there is that the licensor still controls what that'll look like. So
yeah, I know.
I mean, Marvel is going to have last say on that.
Oh, that doesn't excite me. But
I mean, you got to have
ruining my hype, Hogue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, they let Ryan Reynolds have his fun with Wolverine, so maybe Marvel will let Insomniac have their fun. We don't know for sure. There are instances where the licensor does a great job. I think, for instance, Lucasfilm has done an amazing job with their licensing this year with the Indiana Jones, The Great Circle, and Star Wars Outlaws. Like, those both captured the spirit of their franchises. So it's possible Marvel could come in and get you the Wolverine that you want, Haynes. I don't know. But they are certainly they're at the table discussing what that needs to be.
Yeah, when I was growing up, and I was into comics quite a lot, actually. My two heroes were Wolverine and Punisher. So I still want that.
What were yours, Hogue? What did you
Punisher game?
Also, that is the most edgelordian choices, but I want to hear.
I know. I mean, when
Heroes
again, you weren't born yet, but in the 80s they were popular.
I think my biggest connection with Heroes was actually probably the X-Men, because I watched the cartoon quite a lot when I was a kid. But I didn't adopt comic book heroes really so much. Mine was probably like Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, something like that.
Okay. I still need a hardcore Punisher game, by the way, single player. Come on,
Just play Marvel Rivals, dude. It's your favorite shooter.
stop it. But yeah, Housemarque's a good call. Loved Returnal to death. I want to see what they're doing. I don't know. We'll see. I have to expect. Do you think we get something early in the year from PlayStation to give us a look at some of these things?
No.
No, they're just going to continue to be a little
opaque. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Last time they gave a big look, it was Concord. So I suspect Sony is rethinking a lot of things.
Fair enough. Maybe they surprise us and Concord comes back next year. Let's go.
Maybe they'll have a Wu-Tang game. We're still waiting on that thing.
Hey, I when I was putting my list of games that I enjoyed this year together, I would have loved to have seen Concord back. So I know certain people online think certain thoughts about me for even saying that. I do not care. I enjoyed that game. I enjoyed playing that game. And it's a shame that I cannot play it anymore.
If you hate that game, you're going to love my How Woke is Concord video coming soon to YouTube.
8 million views later, right?
8 million. That's just me clearing my throat on YouTube with that video. That's just me. That's the beginning, bro.
And then on Xbox, I feel like we've almost kind of touched on this. So we know, they're a little more communicative in their approach with what's coming. We know South of Midnight. We know of E-Day. We know of Doom Dark Ages, which is them now, of course. We know, what's the other one? Valve, obviously, is releasing in February. So we have a pretty good sense what first party of Xbox looks like next year. And I'm excited for all those things. So it's good. I don't think we see any new hardware next year. I think the first time we see new hardware is late in 2026. What that looks like, still TBD. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think we pretty much kind of know what Xbox is doing for the most part.
I believe we'll see them prep the new hardware cycle towards the end of next year, something like at the Game Awards.
Yeah, maybe a tease.
I feel like this period of time for Xbox has been a very difficult one for them. I think the transition period really between informing their own fan base of moving away from hardware and into software has proven to be more angst-filled than I think marketing or the company itself would have anticipated, because they're not selling enterprise software. They're selling people that are emotionally invested in their Xbox. And so I like the This Is Xbox campaign. I understand what it's doing. I think it's a good idea. I expect 2025 to be a year where they commit to that more fully and get out of this transition period and better explain what it is that they're doing, which is what Microsoft has always done, which is sell software. And I think that'll be good for them. It's going to be a little bit more painful before it gets there.
I would agree.
Travis keeps checking a watch he isn't wearing. So I suspect. Oh, sorry. You keep checking it without looking at it. I will correct it. Travis keeps checking a watch without looking at it. There you go.
This is looking at it.
You're looking in the camera when you do it.
No, I look like this, and then I look away.
Fair enough. In any event, we don't need this separation of our conversation because Travis is already complaining about the time. And yes, I think that's what Xbox should do. That's what it will do.
I'm just checking. I have somewhere to be. I'm like trying to make sure I'm good. Anyway, sorry.
We are running pretty long today.
We got a long holiday show. Yeah. Well, we knew it was going to be a longer show. Anytime we said this a couple weeks ago, whenever we do a breakdown of things coming, they're longer shows. Plus, we don't have a show next week. So, But yeah, Tim Kerr asked about the Xbox handheld. I think that's further out than people think. I think the rumors that were cycling by some of the Xbox insiders earlier this year got it wrong. Go figure.
And that's also said it was longer out. So
well, yeah, now they have, right? Yeah. There was kind of leaked information it was coming soon, and it's like, no, that's further out. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing what that looks like. It's going to be kind of interesting, actually, with the Steam Deck kind of doing very well, seemingly. You got the ROG Ally and these other third-party ones, but with PlayStation and Xbox talking about another handheld gaming coming, and Switch 2, of course, seems to be kind of hitting its stride. So, well, with Travis having to run to his Dickens fair or whatever the hell you got going on today,
Travis needs to go get Dickensed.
Oh boy, Dickens down. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get you out of here. We'll wrap up our holiday show right at just about the 3-hour mark. It will be by the time we're done talking, and then you can go and be a dickhead. On the season gaming side of the house, pretty light week. I will just say, checked out a new Halo 2 statue, actually, which is right here behind me, that you can check out if you're interested in those sorts of things. The collectible side of the house, Chiefs hanging out by the Christmas tree.
Have you thought about putting that Master Chief helmet as like the star on the little tree? It looks like it would fit right there.
Oh, it's bigger than this tree's smaller than it looks, and that helmet's bigger than it looks.
Okay.
So, yeah, but it could probably work.
I'm telling you, there it is. Gamer
Wow,
tree.
Done.
That was in his mind's eye, Hogue. Good job.
I know he was watching it. But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks for everyone who hangs out with us at SG. Obviously, the Bitcast all year long. So much fantastic support. Community is always great here. Very rare for us to get someone who's causing issues. No Travis review-like comments typically on Bitcast, which is appreciated. So just a big old thank you to everyone who hangs out with us. And I hope everyone enjoys their holidays, whatever you celebrate, as I hand it off to Hogue to talk about his virtual legality that we didn't.
That's right. I did a virtual legality this week in a format that some people will recognize without the video and looking a lot like the old OBS videos that I did, on the fact that Sony decided to invest in Katakawa Corporation. There were rumors about a month ago from Reuters and others that suggested that Sony might buy Katakawa, which is the parent company of, among other things, From Software, the makers of Elden Ring. And instead, Sony invested about $300 million into buying a 10% stake in Katakawa. And so I talk about that on my virtual legality this past week in a short form, 15-minute video where we just go over the topics. It's not a live stream. It's not something with a bunch of commentary from the group or anything like that. And I'm going to do another virtual legality, I think, like that soonish. I don't know if it'll be this week because we've got Christmas, we've got family things to do this week. But recently, the U.S. Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission investigated the Epic Games and their board of directors for whether or not they should have Tencent directors on their own board. And the result of that investigation and kind of commentary was that the Tencent directors immediately resigned. And so I want to talk about why that happened, what the rule in the Clayton Act is in the United States about interlocking boards of directors. And I hope to do another kind of maybe 15-minute virtual legality, short form, bite-sized chunks, again, on that topic in the near future. So if either of those things interest you, check out Hogue Law at YouTube. We'll be doing more of those virtual legalities and hangouts and headlines in the future, hopefully. If I don't get completely worn out by 3 or 4 hour long videos for Season Gaming or Lost Sound Media or anywhere else that I work.
Fair enough. Mr. Dickens, would you like to shout out?
Mr. Charles to you. So you can look at my review of Alien Rogue Incursion. I'm working on a new game review now. I don't have a ton to promote this year. Go watch Hogue's virtual legality video and see you next year.
Fair enough. We've got a few comments here, or member comments, just to close us out.
Jerry Mills, member for 23 months. Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Big Memo.
Big Mad Mo, member for 23 months. Started at the same time as the last commenter. Shout out to the panel. I'm a Mass Effect fan too, being the best. But what do you all think of Exodus? I'm getting really excited for this one. Hogue has expressed his desire for this game inside of him.
I am very excited about Exodus and Dawn Walker. It's one of the things that I was talking about on social media earlier this week. We don't know really when either of those games are coming out, but Exodus is a kind of Mass Effect spiritual successor from the people that helped bring Mass Effect to life. Dawn Walker is a kind of Witcher spiritual successor from the people that brought Witcher to life. And one of the things I was talking about on social media on this point was that it's as important to follow the people as it is to follow the companies. And so I am very hopeful that Exodus and Dawn Walker and other projects like it that feature kind of the creative brain trust behind some of the things that we love so much get more play, get more attention in the future than just following the logos. Because the people that made Dragon Age Veilguard, which I didn't hate, which I thought was a goodish game, if not a great RPG, are not the same people that made the original Dragon Age. And the people that made Witcher 1, 2, maybe even 3 are not necessarily the same people that are going to make Witcher 4. It doesn't make those games bad. but it does make it different than the people that originally made them. So
Yeah.
I recommend folks follow the people, because people do, in fact, make the games.
Yeah, I actually called out on the joking earlier about the comments we got about Witcher 4 release date and CD Projekt Red and stuff. You know, I said there's at least a minimum 3 new studios that have been stood up from people that left CDPR post the Cyberpunk debacle, right? So that talent is always moving around the industry. And to your point, which is a good one, is follow those people, follow the where that talent goes, because that's how we get these cool new IPs. Shout out to Second Opinion Pro becoming a member on the Season Gaming side earlier this episode, nearly like an hour and a half ago now, but thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Ray closes us out with a message for everyone.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Sards.
Thank you, Sard. All right. With that, we will go ahead and close out. As I said, happy holidays to everyone. Thanks for everything you do for us for the show and for hanging out with us, listening, watching, everything else. Have a good holiday and New Year, and we will see you. That is after the New Year, right? Yes, we will see you in the New Year. Until then,
go Lions!